Special joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Police Commission at 5:31. And we're not doing the Pledge of Allegiance because we will do it at, well, it's not in here. We do it at 6 o'clock. So
We're saving it.
we'll save it for 6 if you want to stay and do it at 6.
I know it,
Diana could sing the national anthem.
Yes.
You're gonna do that, Kevin?
No, I was nominated
Oh.
Selectman Yaisley.
To sing the
accepted.
Okay, so, gotta get my pen.
Oh,
Bring it on.
Ready?
Down goes funk for some reason.
Oh. Good evening. My name is Eric Lemke. I'm the current chair of the Simsbury Police Commission. Here to present the fiscal year 2027 budget. I apologize for the date.
Oh, well, that's our fault, really.
That's the weather's fault, really.
That's true.
The budget's fund and support the existing authorized sworn strength of 42 officers, a number that has been studied internally and independently and is still below recommendations. All contract agreements from existing collective bargaining agreements with all three unions within the police department. An increase to crossing guard compensation, 2.5% for each year since the last increase in July of 2022. The labor rate for external vehicle repair, which has increased almost 50% since 2021. Increase in contribution to regional service teams from 5,000 to 7,500, which supports our regional emergency service teams, SWAT, equivalent to EST, crisis negotiators, accident reconstruction, and drone teams. Replacement of appliances used for evidence that are over 20 years old. Training throughout the department, dispersed among positions, ranks, and responsibilities for such areas as hard and soft skills, technology, investigation, and professional development. This includes state and manufacturer mandated certification training and continued education. This will be the third year providing state-required police certification training in-house as opposed to regional training. Renewing the existing roadside camera lease and enhancing coverage by 1 to 2 intersections. Replacement of 2 hybrid marked police cruisers and the replacement of 2 unmarked administrative vehicles. The budget also reflects a reduction in fuel based on usage and efficiency of the hybrid patrol fleet. Any questions or comments?
We love the fuel part. I could just speak for the whole board there.
Yeah, it's huge.
Diagrams are
Can we
charts
go
or
like
diagram?
page by page
Yeah,
to ask questions? That was
Yes.
a lot. What's your favorite color? There, we'll start there.
Or, no, color of M&M is the question.
Oh, that's, I stand
How
corrected.
about the increase of cameras? Is that, we currently have 1 to 2 in town, or
I believe we have two cameras?
We currently have 3 intersections, so a total of 6 cameras.
6 cameras? And those are the ones, I know there was some controversy recently about like how ICE is using them, or goes into the central database. Is that the same thing?
Yes, yeah, that's what they're talking about,
Okay.
those cameras, yeah.
And so those are just on main roads?
Yep, they're on our main roads right now, main intersections, and the idea is we had a 2-year lease on those. That 2-year lease comes up this, the end of June this year. So it's to renew that lease and then add 2 more cameras, which ideally would be actually 2 more locations. So we were looking to partner with either Avon, Bloomfield, or Granby to put one on each side, just to end up expanding our capabilities.
I'm just curious, does that do north and south? Well, I guess it depends on the intersection. Does that do traffic going both directions?
It does,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
One more question, I guess. The training in-house versus training regionally, is that savings? Do we save money on that?
No, it's not necessarily savings. So what happened is we were with West Hartford and, I don't know, probably 12 or so other departments for close to 30 years, if not a little bit more. 3 years ago, they changed their model. And the model was to attach on to a local online university for the training, and then just to go to West Hartford for a couple things here and there. I just think that model wasn't great for us. I like the personal contact, to be able to actually talk with, and some of these were like recorded presentations, so it's a whole lot easier to really get information if there's an exchange of information. So we still go to West Hartford for some things, like for instance, our medical training. So we are in West Hartford once every year, and we go over first aid and CPR and AED and all those things for the EMR level where we are. And then we go for another day for some physical stuff as well. But we host here now the other aspects, whether it is law updates, our policies and procedures. So there's a certain criteria. Every officer has to have a minimum of 52 hours every 3 years. And then within that, certain number of hours within all these categories. So we decided to go on our own with that. And it's been really good. We had a conversation with the officers. We would like to spread it all out throughout the year, which we've done with West Hartford, or try to get it all done sort of the beginning of the year when the laws change. Everybody wanted to get that done sort of the beginning of the year, and that makes sense to me. And it also gave us a little bit more flexibility. A couple years ago, we had subscribed to this software that makes it a whole lot easier for documenting. So it's taken off a little bit of that responsibility that we had before. It now kind of streamlines some of our training. So it's actually kind of come together, and it's nice for us to host this. I would not say it's a lot more expensive at all. But it can be, because if we have to hire a specialist to come in, and I'll give you an example, like we need X number of hours in training on gangs, and that has to get done every 3 years. So we do not have an expert that's at the instructor level here, so we have to pay somebody to come in and teach that, and we can't have all 42 officers in being taught at the same time, so it's spread out over a 3 or so week period, so that person has to come in, 3 different times to do that training.
Can you go back just to each slide, because I don't really know what you're asking for based on the speed that we went through this.
I'm sorry.
And what's the difference in what's an operating increase, if anything new, and also any new capital that is not like planned that we know about?
I'm gonna defer to the chief.
Yeah, so it's like a roughly a 3.6% increase, which most all of that is the GWI from the contractual increases. There is no new capital. There are vests, ballistic vests that we have to replace a minimum of every 5 years. So that number changes from year to year. So you'll see that the request is going to be different this year than it was last year, because last year we had to replace 16 of those. This coming year, there's a different number for those. As far as the cruisers go, we have generally looked at 3 marked cruisers per year. And the way things have been going with our fuel usage and the hybrid vehicles, it's looking pretty good. We also had a little bit of a strange situation during COVID that we're still sort of living with now, which ends up being a benefit, is we couldn't get vehicles, we couldn't get parts, so there was a delay in all of this. So our fleet is in decent shape right now, and the group of us feels that we could go with only replacing 2 this coming year instead of 3. We did hold off on an administrative vehicle for this past year. Our original plan was like a 5 to 6 year replacement for those administrative vehicles, which in reality is more like a 7 or 8 year plan. With the loss of one, or not replacing one last year, we've kind of pushed it out a little bit. So we're looking to replace 2 unmarked this year. So overall, the total is still 4 vehicles.
And would that be part of capital?
It's actually an operating.
Okay.
Right.
I have a question for operating, because it comes up and we've addressed it and had back and forth every year, but I think we need to realistically address overtime in the operating budget. And we cut the overtime last year, and I brought this up last time and said, okay, that's fine, you know, that we're, you know, if we decrease the amount because, you know, and you had justification of why the overtime happens, and, you know, some of it is storm related or, you know, there was long-term, you know, but.
Investigation or.
Right, so, but realistically, we knew that we cut it, but we're going to be at the level, so then you're going to be in a deficit in the operating under your overtime. So how are we addressing that this year? Because I don't think that that is the best model to keep going with, to unrealistically fund or defund that, and then knowing it's going to be there anyway and winding up in a deficit.
So right now, we're at 55-60% of the year. And we are just that or just under in our overtime expenses. So nobody likes to hear there's a lot of luck involved. But there really is, because it's, you know, it's fortunate that we don't have a lot of major things that happen to people that can really impact their lives and spend, you know, have the officers spend a lot of time investigating things. You know, storms definitely do that for us, but more significantly on our budget is our officers having like personal injuries or illnesses or things that happen to them or to their families. And that combined with vacation usage, and sometimes we can manage some of that, at times we can't. I think we've been very fortunate this year to be on target for that, and the plan was to go with the same thing for next year in hopes of filling some of those vacancies to relieve a little bit of that stress that's there now for the.
Right, I just want to budget appropriately.
Absolutely.
For it. Did when we changed the negotiation to the unlimited disability, you know, absence, did that help some of the overtime, because did people either come back or?
For the sickness, the
Yeah.
accrual? So we're only 7 months into that.
Yeah.
And I would say it's very difficult to compare where we were with right now.
Sure.
Only because we had some really extreme circumstances over the last couple of years. I think that the officers have historically tried to get back as soon as possible. We are working with them individually for whatever the reason may be, whether it is a work-related injury or not, to try to get them back. There's in a lot of cases, plenty of things that people can do that can help us along the way. So we've been trying to manage that with HR's guidance, and I think that's it's a strong point for them to be able to kind of get us through some of these tough times. But to compare and see whether it's been impacted the budget right now is.
Too soon. Okay, great, thank you.
One question, so this is this is a police budget, we're gonna get Mark's budget, so we'll know it's out of this one that's in this, or are we saying that this is what we're gonna see potentially?
We're working on that as closely as we can. And I want to thank the board for the extra time. Of course, we're presenting my budget to the board on the 18th at your special meeting.
Yeah.
You know, I think the chief and the chair have described a really good plan. It's one department among all our departments, so we're really ultimately working with finance to fit everything into the global package that you'll see next week. But it's a very good job.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Can we get a
Can
copy?
we go
Oh,
back
yeah,
through it
sure,
real
sure.
quick? It was sort of
I
a
did ask
blur.
that too. Go ahead, yeah. Just page by page.
What is recommendations for just trivia? It's 42 is below it. What is the recommendation?
It's either 43 or 44.
Okay,
Depending on how you read the study.
And how many are still out? How many are still not filled right now?
So right now we have 5 vacancies.
And that Certus study is several years old now at this point,
It is,
so
yeah, it's
that
two-
The
43,
study?
the Certus study,
Certus, yeah.
the 43 might not be a accurate number.
Yeah, it's 2022 data that was used for that.
Okay. Oh, can I ask one quick
Yeah,
question?
go.
Just to clarify, the thing I think we approved last year, or was it the year before, the records clerk in the room, are we all done? Is that all up and running?
It's up and running, but we are not all done.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a work in progress and it's looking pretty good.
okay.
Next slide, please. This was another one I had a question about. I thought we were doing something, I'm sorry for my naivety if it is, but with Public Works maintaining the vehicles, did that come to fruition or?
They've always maintained our vehicles for oil changes, tire rotation, tire changes, air filters, kind of your basic needs to keep cars up and running. If there is something major like a water pump, and sometimes they don't fall under warranty depending on the time. Those are very challenging, and I'm not a mechanic, but they have to take half, 3/4 of the engine out in order to replace a water pump. So Highway does the best they can. They don't choose to not do something because they're busy. They prioritize, I think, extremely well, and they do as much as they can. But sometimes there's just things like an axle repair that needs to get done, and the labor is, whether it's wear and tear or an accident, whatever it may be.
Okay, so are we gonna get a well, it'll be part of the budget, a quantification. I can see it increased 50%, but I don't know.
The budget has not increased 50%.
Good.
No, it was just a statement. I think, I wanna say the rate was like 82 or something like that, and or a little bit higher than that, and now it's almost $200 an hour for maintenance, for labor rates for dealerships. Yeah, but no, that's not what you're gonna expect to see.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions on this one?
No.
What are appliances?
thank you.
Like toasters?
So we have 3 refrigerators.
Oh, literally appliances.
Yeah, but not the refrigerator that's in the kitchen, so we actually have 4, and not the one at dispatch, we have 5. These are dedicated for evidence. So if an officer takes a piece of evidence that needs to be refrigerated, there's a specific refrigerator that the officer puts that in, they turn a key and then they deposit the key in there so that evidence can't be touched again except by our evidence custodian. That's a temporary holding refrigerator. Then it gets marked differently, it gets entered into our system, and then it gets placed into another refrigerator that is in our evidence and property room that nobody except the custodian and designee has access to.
They're literally 20 years old?
They are, so we did renovations downstairs in 2004 through 2005, and none of that has been replaced. We had to do some service on one of them, and we got through it last year. We're looking at replacing basically the guts of one of them in this current year budget, but the other ones, we don't wanna wait until they start to go. We can deal with a refrigerator that has food in it, going bad and dealing with that as opposed to, evidence for somebody's case.
So my home refrigerator is worth $800 and the restaurant refrigerators are $8,000.
You know how
Which one are
expensive.
you talking about?
8,000.
Some, no.
And these are tiny little ones, yes,
Yeah.
so there are 2 other ones that are more like a college dorm style, but they have to have alarms on them and such, and they're not $8,000 refrigerators, but our evidence one where we initially put that in, it's like an $8,000 replacement, and we're looking at, we used some sort of an electrician from the Board of Education who helped us last year and did some replacing of those parts, and now this year we have to have kind of the guts replaced of it, but it'll probably be closer to $3,000 in
So
this
I
year's budget.
I don't wanna waste a lot of time on this, but just unfortunately I have insight that the new refrigerants, which is propane essentially, don't have the life of the old ones. A lot of times when I talk to refrigeration people, they actually advise against replacing these units.
Right.
Have you gotten any third-party opinions?
That's why we're replacing the guts of this other one.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, the other ones are very similar to like college-style dorms, but a little bit more expensive than that, but they're not.
Do you
they're
have
not-
something other than beer in them?
They're not we do not have any beer in those. They are, but they're not industrial level like this one that we do have. That's.
Okay, well, I'll see it in the budget, I can drill down on that. The other thing was, is there such a thing, I don't know if this is the screen to ask it on, but a hybrid between regional and in-house, where some of the things could be regionalized, do you ever pursue
training?
that? Yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
Yeah, and
skipped
that's what we're
around.
doing, so we still go to West Hartford for some of these regional trainings, and we've had some departments come here for a few of ours.
Okay.
So yeah, we try to do that as much as possible, it's just that model had changed so drastically that I didn't think it was gonna be beneficial for us to stick with
Fair
it.
enough. Just a question. Next slide, unless someone else, I don't mean to be
No.
like the only guy.
That one already.
So, yet again, sorry, Nick, you and me. You had mentioned doing it at the borders, which I wholeheartedly think that's very creative. Can we pursue this on a regional level where, let's just say Granby, just as a potential? Do they buy one camera and we buy another, or?
That's what this is, for 1 to 2, so we're asking for 2 cameras. One will be used in conjunction with another community, and one will be used in conjunction with the other. So then it goes from our 3 intersections we have now to 5 at the cost of basically 1 intersection for us. So you asked earlier if it gets both directions.
Right.
It does, because you need 2 cameras to do that. So one camera will get, say, south, and the other will get north.
Right, that's actually the perfect answer.
And that was a reasoning why we're looking to regionalize with that.
Okay, anyone else?
No.
I think that was the final slide, we did the last one, didn't we?
That's it, yeah, that's it, yes, sir.
Anybody
I'm all
else
set. Thank
have
you.
any questions or
Appreciate it.
comments?
No, I got mine
Okay.
answered.
You done? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you guys for, so I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Selectmen for February 9th at 6:01 PM, and we'll all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. So tonight, we are here to have a public hearing, amendments to Town Code, Chapter 141. It's related to the ordinance on the horse exemption. The public notice was shared, and we're going to, this is something that, I'd like to, first of all, ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mark, do you want to just give a little background on why we're holding the public hearing?
Pursuant to state law, Chair, anytime you're changing the ordinance, the board has to hear from the public on this. You'll recall this was something that the board entertained last year. Since then, I think there's been additional public comment and information that's been shared. And so we're revisiting that. And tonight is just an opportunity to hear from the public. If there were no questions that come to the board member's mind after hearing from the public, you could either adopt the ordinance, or you could keep the public hearing open if you so desire, or table it to a further meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I have a list of people who have signed up for the public hearing. For a public hearing, we limit your speech to 3 minutes. The first one I have here is Joan Coe. Oh, Tom, are you gonna do the time recording for us?
Joan Code 26 Wickham Drive. Connecticut law treats horses as personal property, requiring municipalities to assess them at 70% of their fair market value. But it exempts those using exclusively for farming from the tax, and exempts the first $1,000 of assessed value for horses used for other purposes. General Statutes 1291, 1281, 68. There are several properties that are horses for purposes other than farming. Ethel Walker School is an equestrian program with a barn where many horses are housed. The horses should not be exempt from taxation. The lawsuits finding Loomis Institute versus Town of Windsor 1995, and I have the link, allowed the Loomis Chafee School to exempt property taxes from property from taxes from taxation. There is no mention of personal property, only real estate. The Simsbury patch noted in the 1971 meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Town Attorney Bob DiCrescenzo noted he had a conflict of interest with Ethel Walker and Silverman Group. It appears the Town Attorney DiCrescenzo has been representing entities doing business with the town, having the town to hire outside attorneys. Is there a list of all DiCrescenzo's clients while serving the town? I would hope that DiCrescenzo did not give an opinion to the town on the exemption of horses. Ethel Walker School has a large equestrian program, a barn to house the horses. Students bring their horses to the school. Many are boarded by residents other than on loan from families and individuals, and some owned by the school. Ethel Walker should produce an inventory of the horses at the school and the ownership of each horse with supporting documents. Ethel Walker School does not pay any property taxes to the town, and now they're asking for another exemption for the horses' personal property. This should be rejected. Folly Farm has a premier equestrian facility with riding school. All horses should be taxed as personal property. They should not receive any exemption. Wellaway Farm is an equestrian facility where horses should be taxed. All the high rollers should pay their fair share of taxes. All revenues reduced will add to the cost to the taxpayers who should not be subsidizing the high rollers. I would urge the assessor to review the horse inventory in town and assess the horses as defined in state law. Giving special exemptions to a few high rollers increases taxation to all taxpayers to cover the shortfall. Special exemption groups have hijacked the budget process with unfair exemptions. These are tactics for asking for special exception, increase the tax burden, and others could stifle, and this could also stifle economic development. The Board of Selectmen should not allow a few high rollers to dictate this town's taxing authority. If the process is not broken, there is no need to fix it. Vote no on exempting horses from legitimate taxation. And all of my comments were posted on Simsbury Patch and Twitter at Jones. Oh, thank you for listening.
Hi, I just noticed the clock up there. Thank you, Tom. Also, can we get some more chairs in here? Are there chairs in the hall? Tom, would you be able to grab some for us? You guys are helping out too.
Just trying to be efficient and be ready. Because I saw I was just right after Joan, so
There's no egress, that's not gonna be acceptable.
Yeah, you're gonna have to move the chair in place.
Yeah, but
Starting
then
here.
nobody would be.
Starting here.
Room on this side.
From over here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, or yeah. Or you wanna sit that close? Come on.
How about on that side?
Come on, Vivian.
They brought these chairs in, nobody's gonna sit. Now nobody's gonna sit in them.
Yeah, on the other side. Yeah. Okay, our next speaker, our public hearing speaker is Susan Messino. The clock will start ticking.
all right, thank you. Susan Messino, 41 Madison Lane. A couple of comments, and I also spoke briefly the last time about the tax on horses and ponies. I wanna say again, I absolutely want a horse or a pony, but despite that, I'm not in favor of giving tax abatements when we're going to be talking soon about our budget challenges. And we talked about giving tax abatements for incentivizing specific things. And at least two of the large horse owners in town, Ethel Walker and Folly Farm, have on-site housing that could be enrolled in our affordable housing program. And so I don't know why we would be giving away this blanket, opportunity when I think there are ways to think about this creatively. And I don't find the idea that it's unequitable if someone's horse is worth more versus another person's. People self-report on property all the time, so there's that point. And also, I'm not sure if this hearing was noticed properly, because I know it was canceled it was due to the snowstorm, and I'm not sure if that means that another legal notice has to go out about the rescheduling. I don't know, I'm just asking. Thank you.
I'll just confirm that with Mark, that we met the noticing, no.
Had your meeting not been properly canceled because of the snow, then the commenter would be correct. But it's just because you canceled yours, it was rescheduled for the next one, and we're okay there.
Okay, thank you. Just wanna get that out of the way. The next person,
Wait, I still have a minute, 20 seconds. I just, related to that, I wanted to know how the last Board of Selectmen meeting was canceled, which is something that I wrote in my comments about the issues with the website and the irregularities in information and notices, et cetera. Because as far as I saw, there was no cancellation of that meeting, there was simply a closure of Town Hall that day. So just a point of order on that issue.
Diane Nash,
This is
public hearing?
For the horses.
public hearings.
Yeah,
No, you must have signed me up for the work.
I have Diane Nash, Diane Moody.
I'm sorry, we signed
No.
up for the wrong payment,
You want public audience?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, is there anyone else here for the public hearing on horses? Okay, why don't one of you guys come up?
I'm gonna go after you.
Okay, so I am actually Linda Krowitzki. I am Amy Krowitzki's mom. She, because of the cancellation of the last meeting, she is not able to be here. She's out of state. But I am her mom, and Amy Krowitzki is the proprietor at the equestrian business that operates out of Folly Farm. I'm here today with a number of colleagues and clients and friends to discuss the need to exempt horses from personal property tax in our town. I want to be very clear that this is not being brought up in any effort to avoid paying taxes on horses at all. In fact, we are willing to discuss mutually beneficial situations in which monies could be collected from local horse owners in an appropriate manner. Our focus today, however, is to help the Board of Selectmen understand the issues that the current taxation situation is causing. The main reason, which is why this is such a problem, is that there is no meaningful method to determine the value of a horse in this town. With vehicles, you have a relatively unbiased publication, which allows the value of vehicles based on year, model, make, and condition. Certainly, a car without a working motor would be less valuable than one in similar condition that was fully operational. Through several meetings with the assessor's office, it has come to light that the assessors are utilizing artificial intelligence, specifically Google AI, to estimate values of horses. Aside from being embarrassingly proven that this has absolutely no means to value a horse, they are inputting extreme value vague data. When we submit forms demonstrating ownerships of horses, we provide age, breed, and intended use. There are a significant number of additional factors that influence the actual value of any horse. This is underlined by the fact that the assessor's own reports begin by saying that there is a wide range of values for whatever horse they have inquired about due to the many factors that would impact value. But more specifically, things like veterinary records, show records, health and medication concerns, and athletic ability. Utilizing a specific example, the assessors have determined that one of my horses, a 7-year-old warm blood gelding, used for lessons and low-level shows, is worth $65,000 based on their AI valuation. Now, if you actually read the printout on this horse, it says the value could vary from $20,000 to $75,000, and arbitrarily chose $65,000. As I explained in our subsequent meeting, my horse has several factors that influence his value, making it significantly lower. Once you input those additional factors into AI search, it actually, quite amazingly, the values become much more appropriate. This proves that while AI is a useful tool to value horses, the office is not gathering the information to properly input variables that significantly impact the real-world valuations. If you put aside the fact that the office does not have the means to accurately value horses, we can turn our attention to the harm that this causes my business. Given the individual towns can decide whether to accept or exempt the state statute, clients who board their horses in Simsbury stand to benefit financially by removing their horses from my care and placing them somewhere else that they won't be taxed. Just ahead of October 1st deadline.
Linda?
Yes.
I think you're over the 3
Oh, I'm
minutes.
sorry.
Nobody's
Sorry.
acknowledging the
Sorry.
thing, that's okay.
I'll finish. Thank you.
My name is Brittany Watrous. I work at Folly Farm. And I live at 11 Tooten Hills. Just ahead of the October 1st deadline to report, a former client moved her horses to another town, costing me approximately $10,000 in income per month, which is nearly 10% of my annual income. Our town should be supporting our local businesses, especially one with such a long history, but this tax is having the polar opposite effect. The entire process has been a tremendous burden on my business. The time, effort, and energy I have expected to put in to essentially assist the assessors with collecting information for the purpose of taxing my customers is unacceptable. My mental health has suffered as well, as I've had to take so much focus away from the business and place it on handling this with the assessors. I have explained numerous times to Rachel and Francine that there is significant turnover in the horses that are stabled on my property month to month. Very rarely are the exact same horses on the property from one month to the next. This makes appropriate tracking and taxation a logistical nightmare, and that burden falls solely on me. Forgive me, but I did not sign up to provide information to Town Hall so that they can tax my clients. Furthermore, we feel that we have been targeted in these actions. Customers of other farms in Simsbury report that they have not faced similar issues, nor have they been contacted by the assessor's office. Another local farm owner has told me that the office has recently contacted them to try and obtain information about their clients. This is well over a year since we have been dealing with the same problem, so why are we the only targets for so long? Another important issue surrounding this is that we regularly lease horses, just like leasing a car, from all over the country. I explained thoroughly to Francine and Rachel that if I leased a horse to a municipality that imposed taxes and subsequently received a tax bill that I had no knowledge of, I would be absolutely furious. Despite this conversation, I was just notified that an out-of-state owner received a tax bill for a horse that one of my clients was leasing. My client submitted the appropriate paperwork and understood her responsibility to pay the tax, yet an out-of-state owner was involved anyway. Fortunately, she is familiar with what I have been going through and reached out to me immediately. Others may get a bill and not be so friendly. One of my ideas that I came up with is that we should treat horses like dogs, and the fact that they should pay a flat fee. That's my idea because I live in Simsbury. I moved here because I wanted my daughter to benefit from the school system because I believe in the town. I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay taxes on horses, but what I'm saying is that there's no infrastructure created to value horses correctly, to report them correctly, and the hours and hours and hours that we have spent on the phone, over email, in person with the tax assessors, frankly, I feel like is a waste of everybody's time and town resources. So that's my opinion, and that's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for the public hearing?
Hi, Regina Landsberg, 278 Old Farms Road. I would agree certainly with what the other individuals have stated. These people are businesses. I can tell you at my property, I've had rescue horses that are quarantined there for a rescue who used to be in Simsbury. They're now in Avon. These are horses that have come from the slaughter lots. And they are not gonna have home, or they are not gonna be able to come to a place that they can be quarantined at if there's gonna be taxation, because the rescue just can't afford that. So I get that these are businesses and there's a whole different level, but I've at times had at least 3-4 horses at my house. And I think it would be very difficult to have a situation where they are gonna be taxed.
there anybody else here for the public hearing? And then we do have an agenda item to discuss this later where we could potentially talk about some of the things that were put out here if they're viable. Because some of them have come up before. So it would be good to revisit those and see if it's something that can happen at the municipal level and not the state level. But I would ask again, is there anybody else here for the public hearing? I know you're supposed to say it 3 times, but I've said it enough. I don't see any hands here. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
With the understanding that the town manager thinks that we warned it appropriately, yes, I'll second.
Okay. Yeah, okay, and is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing is closed. The next thing we have on our agenda is, we have 2 presentations tonight. So those of you who are here for public audience and for the hearing, you're very lucky to get to hear a lot about what's going on in town. We're going to hear from the Simsbury Volunteer Ambulance Association, who are here for their annual report. I'm not sure who's doing the presentation. Karen? Karen. I do want to, you can get up, but as you're getting up, I just wanted to say, I want to apologize for our board for some of the comments that were made on the dais last time when we brought up the rates, the operating and the capital. It sounded like some of us were skeptical and some of the questions may have been a little bit insulting. But I think we were shared some information that none of us really knew about, and so we were very concerned. And when we're on the dais and we're talking, this is really the only opportunity we get to say what we think. So we pretty much are pretty honest and say what we think while we're up here. So there was no harm meant, and we're here to listen and to be
We
supportive.
appreciate that, and we appreciate all the support we've gotten from the Board of Selectmen as well, and from the town. So this is an annual report that we're giving because of the agreement with the MOU that we have with the town, was to present annually to the Board of Selectmen. So this is a summary of it's a retrospective basically in the past year for Simsbury Ambulance. Start off with, I have a whole lot of numbers, so hopefully this isn't too boring for you. So our transports for 2025 only increased by 2%, which is a significant drop from the past years. So we were actually doing about 4 or 5% each year. But the total 911 calls actually increased by 10%. That basically means that we went to calls, but we didn't transport. So that's something that we get refusals from, we get canceled for, things like that make up a big difference in our income.
And for the public, that's how you get money. That's how you get
That's how you
paid.
get
Just
money.
so-
It's transports
wanna
and
add
money.
that.
This is the same thing that's shown in a graphic form, so you can see how erratic sometimes the call volume can be. Every month is different and every year is different. There's no set pattern for our call volume. Same with our transports. So you can see it's been fairly flat. It hasn't had the increase that we had back in 2022 where we were still increasing by that 4% that I talked about. So the other thing that Simsbury Ambulance does is we have mutual aid agreements with Granby and Canton. And so this depicts how much of the all total call volume SVA actually handles. So we do 91% of the calls in town, and 9% is relying on Granby and Canton to come in to help us. This graph depicts the call volume based on the mutual aid. Sorry, it's so small, you can't see everything. The blue is SVA responding to calls, then the orange is Canton, and the green is Granby, and then the purple line would be another service that we use infrequently, such as Yukon, East Windsor, Suffield, for further providers that are way outside of the town. That's usually happens when the system has been totally overloaded and we have to have further mutual aid.
And this is just for in Simsbury, this is not your mutual aid out. I
This
wanna
is
be
just
clear
coming
of it.
into town,
Right,
correct.
I wanna be clear for the public on
Yep,
that.
exactly, this is all Simsbury volume. This is an analysis of the time of the day for calls. So currently we're running the second ambulance from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And again, I apologize for the small numbers, but you can see that at 7 a.m. is when we have the first jump in call volume, and then it stays pretty steady and increases throughout the day, and then it starts to drop off again at 7 p.m. So that second ambulance running for 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. has been very effective in covering call volume in town, along with the other ambulance that runs 24 hours a day.
What is the difference between I'm sorry, can you go
That's
back to
okay,
that
I'll
one?
go back.
And even though I have slides ready. The 7 PM to 8 PM, I see a larger drop from 8 PM to 9 PM, but what is the difference in, between the 7 to 8?
It's only about 10 calls. Somewhere in there. It's a little deceptive because the call volumes, it looks like it's larger numbers, but actually we're talking about, 150 to 160 calls a month. So if we miss that small amount, that 9% is what we're missing. Call volume by day is pretty steady. There's no one day. It used to be Thursdays was the busy day of the week, and now it's every day of the week seems to be pretty consistent. These are the call volumes to our facilities in town. McLean campus is gonna be the Burkholder building and and the Goodrich building as well, along with McLean's actual main facility. 36 Firetown is the governor's house, and 142 Cooper Avenue is I forgot what they're called now, Skybrook. So they've increased our call volume in town by quite a bit. These are the past few years of the hospitals that we transport to. I don't know if anybody knows, we primarily go to St. Francis, John Dempsey, Hartford, and Children's Medical Center. Over the past few years, our increased call volume has been going to John Dempsey, which we believe is due to COVID. People they learned that they didn't want to go into the city anymore, so they're opting to go to a local hospital, which is closer, and not having to deal with the city population. But St. Francis is our med control hospital, so, and Hartford Hospital is even further out, so Dempsey seems to be the popular choice at this point.
Although there seems to be more of a drop off at St. Francis than Hartford.
There is, and I'm not sure what the answer is to that. We seem to be going that direction most, but the increase to Dempsey is dramatic.
Yeah.
So, and we do, if we go to mutual aid towns, we will go to Bay State, Noble, Charlotte, some of the other hospitals that are further out. We try not to, just because it takes us out of service for too long. We try to stay as local as possible so we can turn around and get back into town as quickly as possible.
Who determines if you go up to Bay State or one of those that takes you guys out of the loop?
So if we respond into Granby and
Yeah.
Granby goes to Bay State,
Oh, you have to go
we'll
there?
to Bay State. If we respond to a call here in town and they wanna go to Bay State, we strongly discourage that. Just because it takes so long to go up there, and we try to give them another choice that's closer.
Okay.
So you technically have to take them wherever they want. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say technically
Yes.
wherever a patient wants to go, we should be transporting them to, but we try to impress upon them that that's how long it's gonna be. This is just for information purpose, the type of calls we respond to, just more data, just more numbers. I don't know what else to call this, but these are just the various calls that we get called for, pain being the main thing, which pain can cover a whole lot of things, all the way from back pain, it doesn't cover chest pain, but headaches, sore throats, back pain, arm pain, leg pain, things like that. That seems to be, from falls seem to be our primary call, but that's not a reason to be transported. You have to have a reason for the fall. So that's where some of these other categories come into play. These are our age groups here. This is mainly in town for Simsbury. So 48% of the calls are for populations of 75 or over. The demographics between male and female is pretty close. Last year it was more males than female. I don't know why, but now it seems to have evened out. And as you can see, over 1,200 calls were age 75 and over. That just speaks to our aging population that we have here in town. These are our times. So we, on average, spend 20 minutes on scene for a call. It takes us 26 minutes to go from probably the center of town to the local hospital. This is non-priority. This is not lights and sirens. This is with traffic. And it takes us about an hour to complete a call from beginning to end. It takes us 1 minute and 26 seconds to get out the door from the minute we've been dispatched. And on a priority, lights and sirens in town, our response time is 6 minutes and 36 seconds, which is well below the national, not requirement, but standard, thank you. I'm losing my words here. It's about 8 minutes, so we're well below that. And this is all just some more information for the general public that about 52% of our calls, we were responding to you with lights and sirens, and the rest of it's non-emergent, which were not lights and sirens. And then what's very interesting is you can see the transport urgency to the hospital, even though we responded to your lights and sirens, we're not going to the hospital, lights and sirens, we're going with traffic. So that doesn't happen as often as people think, so most of the time we can go with traffic to transport somebody to the hospital. More information. So our rates are set by the state of Connecticut, if anybody's curious. For an average transport, for a basic EMT level transport is $960. At a paramedic level, it's $1,518. And we charge $23.32 a mile. Before you balk at that, that's meant to cover wear and tear on the vehicles. That's not just fuel, it's to take care of all that. And for 2026, our rates were only increased by 2%. This is our standard billing, in case people wonder how we function business-wise. This is what our difficult issue is with the reimbursement rates for Medicare. So if we bill $1,244.50, immediately right off the bat, Medicare takes off $658.11. That amount we have to write off. It's not collectible from the patient or from the government. And then Medicare pays their share, which is about 39%. And then with the patient copay, it gets us about to a 47% reimbursement rate. So we bill, and basically 50% of it we have to write off. That's with Medicare. With Medicaid, it's a little bit higher. Medicaid with the same type of transport, a little bit of different example, we immediately write off $761 off that call. Medicaid only pays $419, and we cannot bill the patient for the balance, so we have to write off the balance. So the only thing we'll collect from that is gonna be the $419.44. These are some other big numbers, a little tough to swallow. This is all the uncollectible billings, basically with Medicare and Medicaid. It's increased quite a bit over the year. We're over $1 million of our billing, our gross billing has to be written off for Medicare, and $226,000 for our Medicaid has to be written off as well. This is all uncollectible funding. We cannot get any of this money from anybody.
Can I ask a quick question on the
Sure.
Medicaid? With the federal cuts to Medicaid or the impact of that, is that gonna hurt you guys?
I don't think so, because the rate, it's gonna be, unless they change the reimbursement rate, which I haven't heard that they're changing that yet, so.
Okay, well, I was thinking some people are gonna be excluded from coverage or need more proof, but it still ultimately have to be, they may not have insurance, may be
Right,
the
they may not have
problem.
insurance, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
So, another thing that's affected us is post-COVID is increase in expenses. To run the second ambulance from the 7 to 7, our payroll has increased by 31% over the past 3 years. Medical supplies have gone through the roof, it's increased by 30%. Vehicle repair and maintenance, in order to keep our fleet on the road, has increased by 76%. That has to do with, we had to replace 2 engines in 2 of our ambulances, and along with it's normal wear and tear. We put about 50,000 miles on each vehicle a year. Our oldest that we have is 2012, so it's been around for a long time. And then with the payroll going up, the workers' comp insurance has also increased by 61%. So. On the good side here, our fund drive has been very successful in town. We've actually ran a second one this year to try to raise some money for capital funding to purchase a new ambulance. Our standard fund drive, which goes out in the spring, we've raised over $125,000. The capital fund drive has raised about $43,000, and we've received $190,000 in town funding based on the MOU that we have with the town.
For 26,
This is 25.
oh, okay, so we're doing 20, or we still have another,
Right, it's because you overlap, because we're on a calendar year and you're on a
yeah, I
different-
hate that.
We always have to do the math on that, so. We have completed some projects in 2025. We got a grant for IV pumps, which if anybody's curious about that, we have medications sometimes that we give to patients in the back where it's just not a one-shot deal, where they have to have what's called a drip, and this calculates out the medication, so our paramedics don't have to think too hard at 2:00 in the morning. Makes their life a lot easier. We shared a vehicle replacement plan with the town. We've continued to increase our CPR training and first aid training. Our training center actually has been quite busy lately. We've been running EMT classes. We currently have a EMT class that's going on right now. Our scope of practice for paramedics expanded a little bit, including new medications and new interventions. We now can give antibiotics when people have fractures, which is a standard of care pre-hospital. And we've switched to a new scheduling program, which is called Connect Teams. And why it's not Connect two T's drives me crazy. It's Connect Teams, not Connect Teams. Anyway, we have all of our things, right? That's my thing. So Reveal software we put on all of our ambulances gives us GPS locations so we can make sure we know where our vehicles are. It also has forward-facing cameras in case there's an accident, and rear-facing cameras into the cabin for crew safety as well. And we replaced our outdated laptops with iPads with a grant that we received from Northwest Community Bank, which we're very grateful for. Our goals for 2026 is to take delivery of a new ambulance, hopefully by July. It was supposed to be February, now it's July 7th, I'm hoping to receive it. We're going to increase our EMT classes from 2 to 3 per year. We've increased the amounts, I extended the training for CPR, AHA students. We have CPR classes going on all the time. If anybody's interested, there's classes on our website that you're happy to take. We also have a friends and family program, which is not a certified CPR class, but it's meant for the general public. So we encourage people to take that kind of class as well. We've been doing monthly blood drives with the Red Cross, and we continue to look for grants to replace aging equipment. We received recognition from the American Heart Association for stroke care. We reached their gold standard, so we have to input all the information for all of our calls, and we then are determined whether we receive bronze, silver, or gold, and we received gold this for 2025. And this is the blood drives that we've been offering monthly. We do the Hartford Symphony standbys. We did several of those last year, all of them actually. We help with the Junior Police Academy, which is always fun with the kids. Actually, this year we help with the Granby Junior Police Academy as well. We go to Touch a Truck events. And we did some training with the volunteer fire department in town. We did that on their Monday night trainings. We had several events with them to help them learn how to use our equipment when they come and help us on calls. I know how to take the stretcher out and where our equipment is, which has been very beneficial on calls. We did a food pantry fund drive, which was very successful. We got quite a bit of food and raised over $1,500 for the food pantry. For EMS week, we gave all of our employees and volunteers a power pack, which is solar powered for if you go out if you do a lot of camping or hiking and things like that for your cell phone or radios. We did the fundraiser for 601, for the animal control officer. And Dave Harriman, who's one of our EMTs, he received their Champion Award, which is given out by St. Francis Hospital annually for his exceptional patient care. We did the Donnie's Dash standby. At Thanksgiving, we fed our crews. We try to feed our crews on the holidays as best we can. So once they take these holiday shifts and are away from their families, they figure the least we could do is give them a hot meal. We participated in the Simsbury Celebrates. And this is for our EMT course. These are some of the other courses we offer. We do Safe Sitter along with CPR courses. Stop the Bleed is one, we've now become a training center for that, which is another course that we offer. We started offering a scholarship for the EMT class. Lindsay Pinkham was a member of our board of directors who passed away, and we've had gotten donations and pay for somebody to take the EMT class as a scholarship. This class, we have 3 people that qualified for that, so they'll be able to take the class for free. We offer, we do some training for CMEs for other care providers to come to our association. And I didn't realize it ended right there, but it ended. I was ready to go on to the next slide, so any questions about any of that? I know it was a lot of numbers and facts and.
Yeah, I was gonna turn over to the board. I was gonna see if our public safety chair would like to kick off and ask any questions. or talk about some of the conversations
Yeah, I
we've
mean,
been having.
in all fairness, a lot of my questions I have previously asked at the meeting, at your monthly meeting, and then I know that we, as a board, were at our last meeting talking about the capital, and it then operating came up and an additional MOU, and that is something that we are going to have continued conversations about. And I know that there will be an ask in our budget for capital for the additional ambulance that you referenced, that is on order to be delivered in July. I know that we've gone over a lot of metrics, and you're watching, that's why I asked about the call volume in between that specific amount, and you're looking, constantly monitoring metrics for call volume and seeing if things need to be adjusted. But I do appreciate that the information that you are constantly giving to us, and I know Wendy, as the SBA liaison, comes to the monthly meetings, and I was attending as well, and I appreciate the ability to have dialogue, and so that we can bring back to the board information.
And just so you know too, and watching the call volume too, just so everybody understands too, just because we have the 7 to 7 as a second ambulance right now, doesn't mean that's the way it's gonna stay based on call volume. I keep track of whether the time has to be extended from, let's say, to midnight, if the call volume warrants it on the evening, on the overnights. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but it is getting close where we may have to change it from an 8 to 4 to a 4 to midnight, but that's something that's constantly being monitored. I'm sure we'll have a tipping point when that has to happen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a couple things. We are starting to look at creative ways to fund, right, ongoing operations. Right now, we have $160,000 in our next budget as part of the MOU, but from there, we're looking at metrics and talking to see if there's a future need and how to fund that. We're looking at the capital purchase of an ambulance in our capital this year, and how, if we can split the cost, if we come up with an amount that's gonna work for both parties. And one thing I do wanna point out is that the SVAA, their revenue stream is dependent on Medicare.
Transports.
Yeah, Medicaid and Medicare. They're not a taxing district, unlike the fire company, who is a taxing district and can tax to pay for their equipment and their operations. The SVAA does not do that. So that's where right now, the town is trying to step in and help, and we've been doing that for the last few years. And just the people that have brought up the question and should we fund it 24/7? Right now, I know one person can blow that up, but we're struggling to make the costs of what we're committed to right now. So, and that's a stretch for operating. The cost to run a 24/7 ambulance would really blow everybody's budget.
A second, 24/7.
Yeah. So I just wanna say, you have to balance the cost versus the safety aspects, which we're all trying to do as best we can.
The one thing, and if I missed it, I apologize, but one of the data points that we had gotten the other day was, that we asked for, the amount of Medicaid loss that you experience each year, as well as the uninsured and the unrecoverable cost, because it's astronomical, and I don't think a lot of people realize that within your budget, how much you are not getting paid on calls, and how much you're not getting paid on those either uninsured or can't get in touch with, or people moved, or they gave you fake, wrong address information. And it is a significant amount of money that you are out each year, especially when you have those two amounts combined. And I don't know if you have the ability to share that, because it is significant, and I think it's important to remember that as we talk about operating as well as additional funding. And, if you were to fund, the ambulance of your capital, it ultimately just affects your operating, which then will potentially come back to us as additional operating help. So it's a cyclical, it's a cycle of things. But can you talk about what you're not getting back in?
So I did have one slide that showed, if you go back to the
Medicare.
Medicaid.
That one.
That one.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you look at so I only could do 2024 numbers because we're still collecting money for 2025, so I wanted to have a complete number. So if you look at the top line, if we build $2 million of that for Medicare, $1 million already right there is uncollectible. We're just not gonna see that. So that's Medicare. Medicaid is about the $226,000.
Right, and in addition, you
In
have.
addition to that, with the unpaid, unable to find, bad information, whatever, I would say that's probably another $120,000 a year. I think as a rule, I end up seeing about $10,000 a month that's left on the books that's just not collectible.
So,
We have started turning over to collections, but even they have a difficult time getting information, so.
Yeah, I'd like to.
question for you, just to follow up on this question is it profitable for you to do a Medicare call, Medicaid call?
No,
It's not profitable.
it is not.
The reason I ask the question is just, I know that we have a large building that's being proposed to be put into town. If most of those calls are Medicare, Medicaid calls, we could expect a larger loss, I guess, going forward if that project gets approved, I would assume.
It definitely will have an effect, along with the aging population as a whole. The town is not getting any younger, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not quite that simple. Russ Regenauer, I'm on the board as well. Just because we do have that second ambulance staffed and it is not, there's availability there. And so to the extent, it really depends when the calls fall. If, we're already paying for the second ambulance 12 hours a day, so if it falls in there and it wasn't otherwise on a call, it'll add revenue, but to the point, if you looked at it, if you did it on a revenue versus an expense, yeah, you're gonna lose.
And I'd like to open up if there's any other questions, because we do have another presentation coming, and we are gonna look at the capital item during this coming budget and operating in talks to come, to figure out what, if and what is needed in the future, and Mark will be leading that, with SBIA. Anybody else have any questions?
Just three.
Just
The
three.
shoot time, you have the measure in there too, but is there anything that you measure or that you have access to that talks about the call from when the person makes it to when you actually arrive on scene and start to render aid?
Rephrase
So
that
you
again?
get shoot time is when you receive it.
I'm not sure if the shoot, yeah, it was,
Yeah,
shoot
that's
and
right.
response, there is.
Yeah,
It has-
you have to go back.
Does it have the whole thing from call made? So response time is 6:36,
Correct, so
And that's from when
that's
the
from the
call is
time that
made.
we're actually dispatched,
and then rendering aid on scene.
correct.
And that's the average.
On
across
the
that.
high priority call.
What are the outliers in there too? So average across the whole spread on the high priority calls, are there outliers that are significantly an order of magnitude above the 6:36?
So the biggest factor that plays into that is distance. We're a pretty wide far.
It's a big town.
A big town, and some areas you just can't get to from
It takes a
here.
half an hour to get to Simsbury from Simsbury, yeah.
And especially if it's something over off of Wildwood in that area, there's just some of those neighborhoods just take a little bit longer, but we're talking seconds, not minutes.
Okay.
So it makes it, and most part, what I found is when I look for outliers, it's usually human error on the times. I'll call dispatch to just confirm to find out if there was some sort of delay. Obviously, weather can have a factor in it, and traffic, things like that can play in it, but for the most part, on the priority one, we're pretty consistent on that response time.
I'd be interested at some point, not to go too far into it, just to make sure that I understand that. So the other one is, you mentioned the personnel costs as one of your increase and all that. Can you talk a little bit about how, of course, a volunteer ambulance, qualified paramedics, needing to compensate them well, and then also the administrative overhead, you and the other deputies, and how you're right-sized and that. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So what happened for us and with staffing the second ambulance, so competing with the bigger companies, like such as AMR, we actually had to woo quite a few people away from them. And they took pay cuts actually to come work for us, so we tried to find a happy medium somewhere in on there to try to make sure that they can make a decent living, don't have to work 3 jobs, because that's the biggest problem that with the EMS workers is they're not paid enough. So we try to make it so they have a decent quality of life. In terms of myself and my deputies, our salaries are well within line with other services in the state of Connecticut. We've actually evaluated that and looked at that several times to make sure that we were in line with other services.
It's tough because we're talking about actual people here too, but do you feel like you're right sized on the administration side?
I believe
Are you
so.
top heavy or are you
No, because actually
under supported?
We're actually, the three of us, my two deputy chiefs and myself can be on the road. So, and my two deputies are definitely on the road more than I am, but I've actually been doing shifts as well too, so we're all there to cover it. And so they are able to do some of their administrative work in between calls, or they have admin days, but they are on the road primarily right now.
Thanks, let me ask some questions.
Of course, absolutely. Did I answer your questions?
For now, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna turn to Mike, and Mark, you have a comment too?
Yeah,
Mike
just
and Mark.
just one
Or Mark and Mike.
quick question. If you wanna go first, Mike? After you. It might be helpful for the board. I know you've shared this information with me, but you didn't speak to a little bit more, if you could, about the mutual aid. What I'm trying to drill down to is the ins and outs between us and Granby and Canton. I think since I've been here, they've stabilized. I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but one of the concerns is that we are helping others more than they might be helping us. Can you speak to that?
Actually, it's pretty even.
That's what I thought.
Except for January.
What was it about January?
January, they came in for us more.
For us?
Yeah. So that was the first time I saw the swing that went that way, but for the most part, we're about each 9 to 8% of call volume goes in and out. It stays pretty consistent, but yeah, January was, I'm not sure why that was, cause our call volume wasn't super high, but they had to come in for us more often.
So my question, Karen, thanks for all you guys do, keeping us safe.
Oh, absolutely.
Mostly from ourselves, different issue. But I didn't see a copy of this report. Could you make sure we get it?
Absolutely. So this is actually refined. The first, I thought I'd shared the initial one, but that one was done before the end of the year numbers, and I went through this and finalized it
Well,
all,
I'm
so
the
I'm.
new guy, so I don't have any of the old stuff.
Okay.
So.
I'll be
if we
happy
get
to
a
share
copy
with the
of
board
this, I'd
again,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions about it, please reach out. I'm happy to go into more detail. Or if there's a number that I didn't present that you'd like to see. My vision's pretty myopic, so it makes sense to me, but it may not make sense to somebody outside looking in.
No problem.
So I'm happy to
Thank
put
you very
together.
much.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Karen. Okay, next up, we have the update on our website project, and we have Brett or Sean here, who is the interim technology director. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. I apologize for my voice. I've been talking a lot tonight, so I do apologize. I've tried throat lozenges and everything else tonight. So I do apologize. So first thing I want to say is that we got feedback from the public, feedback from the selectmen, and feedback from our departments. And it was great because it assisted us in providing, the feedback that we got to make it more of what everybody is looking for in the site. Specifically, actually, I want to thank the planning department, George McGregor, Trish Monroe from the town clerk's office, Dina Olson, social services, Tom Tyberski, Parks and Rec, Melissa Appleby in finance, the selectmen, and I'm sure several other departments that I am forgetting, and I apologize for that. With that feedback that we did get, we did compile it into a spreadsheet. And this is all submissions, mostly all submissions from the website, directly from that form that have the banner at the top of the page asking for suggestions, things that people found trouble with or was difficult to navigate, anything like that. So, excuse me. So what we did is we brought it all into the spreadsheet to keep track of it. You can see that we have it color coded. All the greens are items that we've been resolved, that we have been able to resolve, or there wasn't any action because of the question that was asked, or it wasn't relevant to our website. It could have been a different website that they were possibly on. Some of the items in yellow or white, we are still evaluating, or we're working with the vendor to provide more feedback to us on how we can make that better. One of them, just the one that's here, is somebody had commented that the font on one of the pages was just too small. And we can't change that on our side because that's part of the template. So, so we're still working with the vendor on several items as well. And then we have some also at the bottom, some staff initiated ones where we found issues with it ourselves. And we added to our list of things. And you can see we have some white ones that we're still waiting with Civic Plus to work with us on. So without further ado, we will get you to the next preview of the website. So some of the things that we got suggestions about or just feedback on was that the homepage wasn't Simsbury. They didn't feel it reflected Simsbury. So we took out the background that we had and we found this background, which was a submission from the old website when we did a photo contest and people submitted stuff. So we now have, when you scroll down, you have the flower bridge, just to make it more appealing to people, which I also think it makes the items within the page stand out more, so you can actually see them clearer instead of it being the white background. Along those lines of the suggestions that people had, they couldn't find the agendas. The agendas minutes were too hard to find. So we did create, we swapped out one of the icons here. These are all interchangeable. We can change these on the fly when something new comes up. We see more traffic is coming for a specific item. We can change these items out on these buttons to make it easier for people. One stop, they go there, they can see right away and get to what they want. Additionally, we did add also appear if people are going to the government page, they're able to go down to meetings and agendas. So these are in an order which we felt worked to how people might be looking for stuff. The town manager, the town meetings, the agendas and minutes, Board of Selectmen, and then watching them, and then the Selectmen's office. So that we tried to make it easy for people to come and see it the way that we think that they would be coming to visit it. Additionally, we did clean up this menu under departments and the boards and commissions. There was some erroneous stuff that got brought over, or stuff that way that Civic Plus thought that we wanted it to be, and they put it in there. And it's been moved into either sub-pages within departments. So that one of the ones was the planning department. There was some items that were there that got put on this menu on the right-hand side that really should have been under either a board and commission or the department itself. So we've moved that stuff over. We also reformatted. We had heard people didn't care for the calendar here. It was actually a tab where they clicked on. It was either the meeting calendar or events calendar. We don't host the events calendar. I think it's the chamber that does our Main Street. Yeah, Main Street, one of them does. So it was actually just, you would click that and then have to click a link to go outside of our site. So what we did is we broke it apart so you can see the meeting calendar is right there, plain and simple. And then when you scroll down, you have community events right there that you can click on. And we have some pictures scrolling through of just different things, pictures around town. So that was, that's kind of like the main page for that. For the front, I know there was a lot of comments as well for the Board of Selectmen. First and foremost, we did make it so that there was contact information. We have all the members here, their position and their party and expiration date to make it very clear for the visitors. It was asked that each person or each member of the board has their own contact form or contact email. We try not to put emails directly on the website so you don't get spammed. So if we look at Wendy's, it goes to a form that is specifically for contacting Wendy. When they submit that, it will get sent to her town email address, and then she can respond directly back to that person, as long as they provide a good email address. Unfortunately, a lot of times, people don't provide great email addresses when they make comments. They want to stay kind of anonymous. So that's one of the changes on the Selectmen's page.
Can they still contact all of us all at once?
Absolutely. So if you click on this one, unfortunately, this one is still, actually, I'm sorry, we did change this one. So this one is a contact form as well, so that it's not a one shot and they can spam all of you at once. So it's the form that has to be filled out as well, so that your email address that would go to all of you is not available to the outside for spamming. Another thing we had done, let me just go back to the Selectmen's page, is every single page will have this template of the table for its members. Right now, if we look at it, you'll see that all of them have the same, it's just a blank table. And we're gonna have those filled in, because we also heard that some of the data that got brought over, because it was from November, it was out of date. So we wanna make sure that every board and commission gets updated with the proper and current members. So if we just look at Aging and Disability Commission, you'll see that there's just the blank form. So each department that's responsible for that will fill in the information for their respective people. Let's see. Also, one of the things that we had was the boards and commissions page. We wanted to have it up front. How can they reach out to people? So we've started putting this out. I'll use Design Review Board as an example, where you asked for us to make it open for how do they get a hold of somebody or get a hold of that board or commission. So right over here on this side, we have a Contact Us button, which will bring you to a form that is specific to that board or commission. So then that will get emailed to the town department or person that will be able to answer that or forward it over to the members so that it gets to the proper people, depending on what is being asked. Additionally, we do have email on here that they can click on, and in this case, it'll go to a planning account that every member in the planning department has, so that if somebody's on vacation, that things won't get missed for, because somebody's there. So everybody there has it. And additionally, we have the phone number for the department.
Britt, can I cut to the chase here? I don't know, do you have a slide to show kind of the upcoming timeline, the turnaround from Civic Plus with the plans? These are things that I've asked for multiple times. When is this, I guess it's in Civic Plus's hand now, to
A lot of the things
clean up
are.
all the discrepancies in that list, right?
Yep.
So do they have do they have a committed timeline that they're supposed to do that by? B, the next question I have is who's going to validate that everything's fixed? That everybody is, are we going back to the users, or are we having a group test that? I threw out the technology task force as an option to do that. Somebody's gotta make sure everything's fixed that's in that list before you put it back out to the public.
Right.
So what is that plan, and when is the release date? I guess a lot of us wanna know that.
So as to checking the data, we've been having the departments check the data and updating the pages as they see fit. As late as just before I came down here, I got a call from one of the departments that found something erroneous and wanted just help with correcting that. So we are still checking it. It's a constant thing. We've done training with every department for updating the pages, properly posting agendas, properly posting minutes. For the time frame we're looking at, I would say within a month.
So when are users going to get to make sure that, or select group of users, that everything that was put in those lists, not just the department fixes, but what the experience for all of us, when will we know that that's all signed off and fixed, and who is going to do that?
That's what we've been doing with the Excel spreadsheet with
the departments, but they're necessarily focused on their department, they're not necessarily the end user.
these were a mix. This spreadsheet is the mix of everything that came in from the website.
Yep,
So it wasn't just the departments.
Right.
It was overall comments of the navigation of the website, the like I said, the visuals of it. People made great comments to let us make it more Simsbury, as I said, which is what I think our goal was on that.
so who's signing off on that these are all done, is the question I have.
I personally have been. These I've been working on myself and checking to make sure that they're done.
Yeah, Brett's taking a super active role in managing this. Can't compliment him enough for that. He's spent majority of his time over the last month or so working on this and working with departments hands-on and the increase like responsibility on it's been tremendous to see.
I know that one, it was supposedly sent through the content questionnaire request, but I wanna make sure that it's addressed, because we had somebody who's an expert in this field about digital accessibility, and she had volunteered to even come and look at it through a digital accessibility lens and make sure that it's being followed. I don't know if anything is being done with that and what, through that lens, if that's being addressed.
I'll take that one. I think if you could scroll up on that spreadsheet, it probably is the number one comment up there, and I apologize, it's small. So this has to do with the ADA compliance, accessibility, and so forth. We're looking at that now. We're continuing to work with the vendor on it. And I particularly am interested in this, Diana, because we paid a little extra to make sure that, the new website checks as many of those boxes as possible. So I'll have an update for that as we get ready to roll it out. Just to the first selectman's point, I want to thank Brett and also my deputy, Tom, who's been working on this. Also in my office, our exec assistant, Franklin Rucco, has just completed, finally, after about 16 months, a lot of work related to the Charter Revision Commission, which I know this board is going to be taking up shortly. Between the budget work that we're doing and the charter revision work. Also, Franklin was really spending a lot of time on the annual report that's commissioned every year by the Board of Finance, and has just finished that too. So the last few stages of this, as Brett said, over the last month, we'll have Tom, we'll have Franklin, we'll have myself, we'll have Brett, and we encourage board members to continue to give us comments. One other thing I'd like to just stress so that we get this question resolved in everybody's mind. Rather than having a technology committee of 8 people or 10 people testing every aspect of this, we opened up the beta test version to the entire public. And these comments are all the comments that we've documented. Many calls that came in and other contacts that we had with members of the public were positive. And they are not recorded here. I just want to make that point clear, that what we've tabulated are the concerns, the comments, and the issues that we're working through. We didn't comment the dozens of calls that said, thank you for fixing this link or that link. I've been your town manager now for just over 2 years. The number one complaint that's been coming into my office for those 2 years is that our website wasn't updated. The links were broken. I mean, it was so bad that twice I asked this board for funding, twice this board approved it, we got this thing done. It took a little longer than we wanted to, but really a lot of work has gone into this. It is only gonna be as good as our department heads are willing to take the time to update it, get it rolling, and make sure that every month we've got our internal group of users. Really quality control work is what's gotta happen. And I just wanna end with that quality control is not something that's done in a test environment. It's gotta be done consistently by all of our staff, and we are committed to doing that. And we thank our boards for financing it for the public's benefit. This was budgeted about $50,000. We've expended about $40,000. We've got some money left in that budget line to continue to make improvements if we need to. And we want to thank the dozens of members of the public that reached out to us. And thank you very much for the opportunity to clear that up, because I know there've been some questions, particularly from you, Wendy, who I think, and for the public, Wendy's got an IT background. So she's been riding this very hard on this, and we appreciate the extra commitment.
So
Thanks.
I guess the bottom line is, what is the release date?
It's about a month away.
And
as
it'll
Brett
be the
said.
full version, replacing the website, and everything will be fixed, and everybody's gonna love what comes out there.
Well, we're still gonna have we're still gonna find those little things that are tucked away that.
But you guys will have
it's gonna be, we're gonna
tested
keep working on it.
everything that you've heard from the public will be clean and ready to go, and tested by internal people.
I think we've noted a couple of things that can't be fixed. One of which, for example, was the font. If the font appears slightly small, it's a function, and correct me if I'm not an IT guy, but it's a function of the size of the screen that you're looking at it. So if you're looking at it on an iPad, you're gonna get a certain perspective. If you click on enlarge, I just tried this myself at home recently, and lit it up on my big Mac, and the font was fine, so.
So this header does scale itself, the top header up
Automatically,
here,
yep.
automatically. So if I just close that down, you can see it, it makes that text smaller.
So make it as big as you can when you're using it. One other thing I think
So
Brett educated me on is this new website has data tracking and specific metrics that we'll now be able to use. So we're gonna be able to see how many hits are coming to the website on each of these links. And if you can just go to that government page, you'll see it's a little busy. And what we need to do is we may need to reorder this or eliminate some further if we see that there isn't any traffic, for example, going to one area and it can be moved to a sub-menu or something. We do understand this is still a little busy. We've made some changes to it, but really the decisions that we make moving forward are gonna be based on continued feedback from the public and also from our own analysis of the metrics that this website gives us.
Okay.
Did you mention that we as a board are going to be able to still look at it and input, or did I misunderstand that?
We encourage you to continue giving us comments, not just now, but whenever, because we have the resources to get a little help from the vendor. If there's something that you'd like to see. One last example, I talked to the first selectman and I think the chair of the Board of Finance has asked for additional years from the archive. So in other words, when we originally mapped this out, we were gonna bring 7 years of data over. And there's been an ask for
We
us
agreed to 10.
to go to
but
10.
Pacific Plus, yeah.
And I think I might have one on my desk to go to 15. Obviously, the more you bring over, the more challenging it is. And but I think we're able to accommodate what all of the requests are going to have been with respect to, certainly with respect to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. And then lastly, Brett, if you want to just, this will link to all the other peripheral sites that we have, the library website.
Yes. Yep.
Again, for members of the public, not everything is contained in this website. Culture Parks and Rec has its own website, the library has its own website. And so when you click on those links from our website, you're actually leaving our site and going to the subsidiary site as well. We did receive a bunch of comments about those sites, which, to be clear, were not part of this project. But those comments, if the public commented on a website that was really the Parks and Rec website, we've transmitted those comments over to the appropriate people.
If people have signed up to get alerts, will those automatically transfer over if they had gotten alerts on the previous website?
As of November, they pulled over.
And there's a way on here to sign up for alerts?
Yes, yep, if you come down to the bottom, right here, I'm sorry, actually, where was that? Subscribe to town news.
Okay.
Right there, under one of the buttons. One last thing that cannot be done until we go live is the search function. We can't enable that, they can't enable it, because what it's gonna do, it's going to index this site, which is not our site. Until it actually has that simsbury-tt.gov, they cannot index it, because otherwise it'll be erroneous data. When people go to Google and go to the search, it's gonna bring them to a bad page. So we can't have that happen, because that would be even worse than where we're at now.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just have a few,
Go ahead, Chris.
Mine is more the process. So we had the old site and then we had the new site. Then the old site didn't have any information, the new site had information, and then we took down the new site and the old site had information. So it's kind of confusing, I think, for the public, for myself, it was confusing to know what site to go to. Can we just leave the old site with all the information in there until we have a finished product?
We have instructed all the departments that are posting to maintain both sites.
But isn't,
There had been, I think, a miscommunication at one point, and some stuff was missed going to one site or the other, but we've been instructing them to post to both.
but my understanding is the new site, the link is not accessible any longer. We're not supposed to use that. So whatever's happening behind the scenes, we shouldn't be looking at the new site any longer, is the way I understand it.
It's still there, you can look at it, but just keep in mind, we are making changes every day, every hour.
So that's not a good time
We're
to.
constantly working on it, so we've actually gotten comments on stuff that we've changed within that day, and we get a comment at night or overnight that was for stuff that's been changed. And
Okay.
so that actually kind of became a little daunting, because we were getting comments or suggestions or things on stuff that we had already fixed.
Okay, Kevin?
Is if somebody clicks on one of the email buttons or the contact us for elected members, is that moderated or does it go straight to the elected member?
It will go straight to the elected.
For the accessibility compliance stuff that you were talking about, 508 compliance is like the federal standard. Is that something that our site is actually going through as a 508 compliance, or is it another methodology that you're using for accessibility?
We're waiting for an answer to that question.
Yeah, we did reach out to them today on those comments. I think there was two that
So
were.
our site should be 508 compliant, and if we can't, I'd like to understand why. For the listing of the members in each of the boards and commissions, I thought that at one time, and maybe it still is, the clerk's office was updating their list and that was sort of auto-populating. Is that still what's gonna happen with this, or are those manually?
That was the old site.
Okay.
That was a piece that was written specifically for that version of the system, the Drupal system that ran that site, and they cannot bring that over to this software that's running the site now.
Any integration or whatever that would do that for us, or you're just gonna have, the plan will be to have staff manually update when a member changes in their terms and all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trish is going to be maintaining an Excel spreadsheet with all current members and their affiliation and tenure.
Is the implementation gonna be that the staff liaison will update it then, or is it the clerk's office that will update those commission members?
I would think it's gonna be the staff that runs that specific, because they typically know when.
Who and what, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where we
That's
see the
all.
last for last, if you could show the link to the video on the agendas and minutes, are you able to?
Oh,
do
yeah,
that?
sure.
I know they would love to see that.
Yep.
That was one of my favorite comments.
So one of the things that we do have, which is a great addition to this that we've gotten positive feedback on, is if SCM is recording the meetings and they post it up to YouTube, we can actually link it now directly to the agenda item. So let's here's the example of January 12th meeting here. So you can get the agenda here. You can get the minutes here. Nope, click that. And then you can also go to the YouTube video for that specific season. So it makes it easier for people, again, one-stop shopping to be able to get to whatever media that they want for that.
We haven't been able to get the commercials out yet, but
Yeah,
we're
well.
working on it.
That's good.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess March 9th is a town meeting, we might be announcing that the website's open. Right?
We'll do our best.
We are gonna shoot for that, but I can't give you a
We
guarantee.
do have a budget to
because-
deliver, Chair.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
that's true. Okay,
Where do you click for your horoscope?
why do you need to know what yours is? What are
No,
you?
just a little levity, let's.
Yeah, let's keep
Speedy,
moving.
we want the M&M color.
Right, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Okay, is the list for public audience?
Start the meeting.
Wow. Okay. The first person is Baird, but he had to.
He has another,
last.
engagement, he asked me to give his statement for him,
Okay.
that's all right, you can cross me off,
Do you wanna do it now, or do you wanna do it in your slot?
I'll just do it when he was gonna do it,
Okay, then you're up.
because it has his comments in it. All right. Weird being on this side of the bench here.
Yeah.
It's fun. All right, so thank you for holding this.
Name and address for the record, sir.
Name and address, yeah.
Gotta give
Pretty strict here.
Baird's name and address. Tucker Sauls, 11B, Tungus Place, Tarrytville. So Baird wanted to thank you for his, for the consideration. As a prolific volunteer and public servant, he had to head to his next event before the public hearing. This is a pretty busy agenda, as I'm sure you are well aware. Rest assured, the conservation schedule is much more in line with his typical availability. So I'm going to speak on his behalf, and I hope I can do him justice. For a quick bio, Baird was originally drawn to conservation and sustainability due to his childhood spent in and around nature. In his professional life, Baird is a Simsbury High School social studies teacher, an ever-present example of the importance of local volunteer government to his students. He also oversees the Sustainability Club at the high school, helping us to connect our young students to the tools they will need to advocate for their environmental future. Baird cares deeply for sustainability and has 6 years of experience working with and on the Sustainability Commission. In my personal experience, Baird has always been highly organized and effective. He works hard for what he believes in, and I've also always found him to be highly reliable and professional. So here is the challenge that lies ahead of him along with the rest of the commission. This commission is going to be tasked to conserve our natural environment and watercourses. They will do so in the face of an ongoing and worsening climate crisis. If that wasn't enough, they are also doing so alongside a dire need for more housing and economic growth. Worse, they're being asked to do this with virtually zero federal support and in some cases even active hindrance due to new disastrous climate policies. This commission will play an incredibly important role in how Simsbury adapts to our rapidly changing world, and this is a gargantuan challenge. It is one they will have to meet as unpaid volunteers. This same unenviable situation is the same one faced by every community in Connecticut. What we need in Simsbury is someone who will face that challenge with fresh eyes and a level head, and for that, I think Baird Faithful is our man. And I strongly recommend his acceptance by the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tucker/Baird. Okay, and you have time to spare. Eric Wellman.
Good evening, Eric Wellman, 21 Madison Lane. I'm here to speak in support of Marjorie Winters for the Conservation Commission. Marjorie has been the chair of conservation for since even before I was first selectman, so I'm assuming at least 9 or 10 years, if not longer. There is nobody on that board with the technical expertise that she brings. My concern is that the Board of Selectmen may take a party line vote tonight, and she would be on the short end of that vote because of politics. I think that our town has a long and proud history of keeping our appointed boards nonpartisan. This is going in the face of decades of that history. And I was telling my wife why I was going to be here tonight and why I was going to miss family dinner. And she said, you know, she's a lifelong Simsbury resident, and she said, that's not Simsbury, that's not our town. In Simsbury, we make decisions not because of politics, but because of people's expertise, their dedication, what they bring. So Diana, Wendy, Stephen, Curtis, I really ask you tonight, when you take that vote.
And all
No,
of us.
Wendy, I'm talking to you. I'm
Okay,
talking
thank
to
you.
Curtis. I'm talking to Stephen. I'm talking to Diana. When you take that vote tonight, I want you to really think about who is most qualified for this position. I have absolutely nothing against any of the Democrats who are also appointed for this, up for this appointment. To me, this is more about process. This is about the precedent that we want to set as a town and what kind of town we want to live in. Yeah, I'll let others speak. Thank you for your service. I appreciate you having me tonight.
Joan Cole.
Thank you, Eric.
Joan Code 26 Wickham Drive. According to the charter, the first selectman, section 412, directions to employees, no members of the Board of Selectmen, including the first selectman or first select woman, shall give orders either publicly or privately to any administrative officer or employees as defined by section 503-701 of this charter. First Selectman Wendy Maxtusis is paid $10,000 to execute the duties of the first selectman under the charter. However, at the January 12, 2026 Board of Selectmen meeting, First Selectman Wendy Maxtusis tasked Deputy Town Manager Tom Fitzgerald the responsibility for the timing of the public during public audience as the gatekeeper. He would then, it appears, give First Selectman Wendy Maxtusis a signal if someone went over the 5-minute rule. Since the deputy town manager is an employee of the town, First Selectman Wendy McStusis cannot give any orders to staff in violation of the town charter, a violation of the rule of law. Deputy Town Manager Tom Fitzgerald now has a resume enhancer. When asked what was the highlight of his responsibilities as town manager, he can now describe the awesome task of timing speakers at a Board of Selectmen meeting where he was not a member. Deputy Town Manager Tom Fitzgerald was tasked to be the timer to accommodate First Selectman Wendy McStusis' insecurity that causes her to get unhinged while running the meetings. It appears First Selectman Wendy McStusis does not meet the minimum requirements for the First Selectman, therefore the Board of Selectmen should remove her stipend completely. Town Manager Mark Nelson is the Chief Executive Officer of the town of Simsbury. It appears that the lines between responsibility of the First Selectman Town Manager have been blurred. First Selectman Wendy McStusis has blurred the lines between the responsibilities as a political representative of the town and the role of the town manager as the executive officer by asking Town Manager Mark Nelson to participate as a representative of the town in political events. First Selectman Wendy McStusis is a bully and uses her tactics since she votes on the town manager contract. First Selectman Wendy McStusis convenes a Democratic caucus at secret location to discuss the agenda items prior to the meeting. Now we have been alerted to the Simsbury Democratic Party sponsoring straw candidates with a clean record as candidates to land use committees and replacing them with candidates that appear to have conflicts of interest. It is alleged that one of the unelected shadow candidates is a paid lobbyist to promote affordable housing. It appears that the person has a hidden agenda and is using the Land Use Commission to further the mission, creating more affordable housing. The bait and switch on candidates should not be promoted or condoned as acceptable behavior. First Selectman Wendy McStusis has continually been operating out of her authority. The Board of Selectmen should censure her behavior. The Simsbury ambulance should not be receiving public funds, and the taxpayer should not pay for another ambulance at the cost of $190,000 in addition to promised financial support. The town pays SPAA the sum of $200,000 in the first year, $180,000 second year, $160,000 for the fiscal year of the agreement. It appears the Board of Selectmen would rather keep funding a failed business plan than make SPAA use whatever means they have to either increase revenues or partnership with a viable ambulance service such as AMR. Avon uses AMR for their ambulance at no cost to the taxpayer and provides good service to the town. The Board of Selectmen should invite the representative from AMR to come before the board to provide insight in their plan. The Simsbury taxpayer should not be the piggy bank of private organizations that cannot meet their responsibilities. Taxpayers have been burdened with expenditures, benefit PAC, and private organizations with building additions to Simsbury Meadows. The ticket booth installed by the benefit and now erecting 3,000 square foot with a PAC, a private organization. Millions of dollars are being misdirected to enhance SPAC when money could be used to lower taxes, which are most of the Simsbury residents in town. Simsbury has become a mecca for special interest groups to demand and receive benefits and not afforded the general public. The Board of Selectmen are the gatekeepers of the expenditures and should use their authority to reduce taxes and increase revenues. I notice I have time. All of my comments will be posted on Simsbury Pat and Twitter at Joan Cole. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Joan.
Thanks, Joan.
Next person we have up is Charmaine Seavey.
Good evening, Charmaine Seavey, 18 Quarry Road, here in Simsbury. I'm here to speak on behalf of Baird Faithful. I have known him for a while. I know him to be a good, honest, trustworthy person. Also, I've been here, I'm not a lifelong resident, but we've been here for 40 years, raised our kids here. They went through K through 12. Baird's also a teacher. We entrust Baird and other people like Baird who are teachers to teach and care for our children from K through 12. And I think that's a really important quality that he has, that he does. He is a good person, he helps his community, and he's been on sustainability, and I think he's an excellent person to be on conservation.
Thank you. Tucker, you're done. You're not speaking. Tucker, Susan Messino.
Susan Messino, 41 Madison Way. I want to first mention, I agree with the flat rate on horses and ponies. Whatever is the easiest way to reduce the red tape so we're not going through this again and again and incentivize other things that we want. I'm all in favor about that, and I still want a horse or a pony. I also want to say, I am talking to all of you. I have nothing against any of you. I never say anything personal, I never break decorum. I threatened at one point to vomit, cry, or yell, but I did none of those. And I'm not expecting to do any of them tonight, but the reason why I've been coming up here again and again, which I didn't for years, except for occasionally a film or a fair, is because I'm coming here to speak the truth about what I care about and what I'm concerned about. And people are really having a hard time feeling like they're being listened to. I have zero personal reasons to gain. I'm losing my time with my family as well. And I'm really scared about the new website, and I'm really scared that I sent in 36 things about the website. None of them were reflected on the spreadsheet. So were they not forwarded to IT? Not a single thing I sent in about missing years of information, miscategorized stuff, illogical mismatches between the two websites. You can't go back on the town calendar. This is diabolical. It's like hiding information from the public. You all got my 36 things. Where are they on that list? That scares me even more than the fact that they were, what is going on? But I have to keep going because I only have 3 minutes. So now I guess it seems like the website is down, so that will reduce the confusion. But all of those things, a lot of them are not fixed last time I looked at it. I mean, that's really scary to me. I don't know what happened to that information. I just want to say, and I wrote this previously for a different reason, that really the quickest way to destroy a town is to consolidate power, reduce and eliminate community engagement, use vague language, skirt around our laws and ordinances, have accidents in terms of how notices go out, and generally make sure that nobody knows what's going on. That's how you wreck a town. That's why I said at the last meeting, nothing should happen until we fix what's going on with our information flow, our notices, stuff consistently going out on the listserv, which hasn't been happening. Open space has not been noticed on the listserv or canceled on the listserv. We were planning on having a meeting this past Wednesday. I only found on Wednesday that Monday that staff wanted to cancel it. When were they going to tell the members of open space and how? I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. I mean, a functional website is foundational. The one comment I made, my first comment that I made on January 12th was the only thing that I could see might be better on this website than the old website is using it on a phone, okay? So after that, I was mentioning it to someone. They put a little chat GPT or whatever. What's better about this site versus this website? You know what AI said? They said the new website is better on a phone. Are we running our town on a phone? I mean, you can't do any research on the new website because you can't find any information. Period. End of story. I only have 1:15 left, and I want to speak very strongly about Marjorie Winters on the Conservation Commission because of her expertise, her scientific background. She's extremely nonpartisan and well-informed. And sustainability and conservation sound the same, but they are apples and oranges. And sustainability has been working on energy and trash primarily. And conservation is about water and the environment, the natural environment. And just to give you an example, the Sustainability Committee wrote a whole report on sustainability in Simsbury. Most of it was focused on solar, and their conclusion was we have only this minuscule amount of solar, and the way they got that math is by excluding the hundreds of acres of solar in Simsbury. And that's the report that you all endorse. Why are we allowing this bad math about what we have in Simsbury? It's unconscionable. And I know it's apples and oranges because Baird called me, as other people have, as president of the Grange, to ask me if I would help get our farmers to put solar panels on their land. And I said, no, Baird, I would support farmers for farming, for keeping their land for farming. And Baird said, well, maybe you might want to help them diversify their income. And I said, or maybe And I said, yes, I want them to get income from farming. But the bottom line is, it's just apples and oranges. And, you know, that's it.
Thank you. Steve Horvath.
Steve Horvath. I'd like to speak in support of Baird. I think his work on sustainability, being a teacher at the school, setting a good example for students, working with their local groups. It just shows a long commitment to environmentalism, to the types of things we're going to be dealing with on this committee. As an environmentalist myself, I'm very comfortable seeing him in this position, and I'm just here tonight to voice my support.
Thank you.
Oh, my address is 426 Firetown.
Thank you. You calling me? Amy McLean.
Thank you, welcome, for having this opportunity to speak here tonight. My name's Amy McLean Sauls. I live at 36 Elm Street in Terriffill. And I am here on behalf to support Baird Faithful, because he's a wonderfully dedicated person who's looking forward to serving this town as a member of the Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commission. And when people who are very capable and qualified step up to serve, they should be given that opportunity. Fresh eyes and new blood should not be feared, shouldn't be shunned, should be encouraged. We need more people to be involved. This has nothing to do with the qualifications of the people who sit on this board right now, because there are other opportunities for them to continue to serve. We want an opportunity to put someone on here who hasn't served, and I think we have that opportunity. So I'm hoping that you all will see the value of new people, and they can work with the present members who are also very dedicated to work for this town, to give them the opportunity for this town to thrive, to be thoughtful with members of the community who should also have the right to serve and contribute. And just because they weren't there for 20 years, it doesn't mean they shouldn't be given an opportunity now. And Baird is a very qualified and dedicated person. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Brittany, you guys spoke on the horses, but we had other people that were on the other list. So is anybody else here for public audience? Lori?
Thank you.
Diane and Diane. Sorry, guys.
All right, well, good evening for Selectman Maxudis and esteemed members of the Board of Selectmen. My name is Lori Fernand, and I live at 15 Camille Lane in West Simsbury. And I am here tonight to enthusiastically endorse Baird Faithful for the Conservation Commission and Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. An educator for over 30 years in a vast array of different topics, different subjects. Baird has taught young people to think critically about their role in society and exemplified a commitment to professionalism. He has also been a community leader outside of his teaching role, coaching numerous teams, and most pertinent to his application tonight as a member of the Simsbury Sustainability Committee. Because yes, it's definitely sustainability and conservation and waterways there are very differences in the sciences for both, but that doesn't mean you can't embrace and love both. You can have apples and oranges that you both know a lot about and are able to serve wonderfully in this role. His passion and support over human habitat is obvious, and we would be well served to harness that in support of our natural local resources, our local natural resources. Thanks for letting me address you tonight, and I hope you will move Baird Faithful's nomination forward and make him a member of the Conservation Commission. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori.
Diane Nash?
Diane Nash, 5 Berry Lane. I was going to talk about communication, a website, whatever. But first I have to talk about Marjorie Winters. All you have to do to judge whether she's the best candidate that should continue to serve is listen, I think it's live on tape now, the February 3rd meeting of conservation, Marge was not there. After the votes and decisions were made, the board members said, we can't wait for Marge to return and give us the guidance, her expertise, her knowledge at the next meeting to tell us what our next steps should be. This is her fellow members who have worked with her, who have looked to her. If the Democratic candidate is so good, so much better than anybody else, remove one of your candidates where this candidate can serve in his place. But otherwise, this is a political decision, and as someone said before, that isn't the way this town. We've screwed up before, but we've never done anything so outrageous that we would remove somebody because she's the party of the wrong leading candidate. So I almost don't want to say anything else about communication. You cannot, and I find it not at all helpful, so you don't get spam, that I can't send a message to just the selectmen directly without typing it 5 times over and sending it to the selectmen. Nothing in this website that I've seen helps me, the individual, the public. It may be great for the town staff, and yes, they have a responsibility to keep it up to date. But I'm the receiver of this information. Give it to me in a format that I can just go. When's the meeting? Did the agenda change? No, last time the agenda changed and nobody mentioned it till I mentioned something you were gonna vote on. And then the chairman tells me, oh, that's not on the agenda. We changed the agenda. I don't even think that's legal, but please give us a website that the public has input on that says, I can find what I'm looking for. Simple stuff. When's the meeting? How do I get the meeting? What's on the agenda for the meeting? We come here to talk, I talk. If you don't listen, or you listen, you give me your individual email address. I don't want, I mean, as much as I appreciate it, I'm talking for you guys. I should be able to press a button and get all your email address directly. Not Curtis giving me it, Diana giving me it. I speak as an old person for the public. I take new ideas, love them. This town develops on new ideas. But don't forget the standards. We don't vote and change people because of their political party. We change people because they're willing to serve and can serve best the public.
Thank
Well, I didn't sign up.
Diane Moody. Diana.
I got that.
I had that down.
I know.
Good evening, I'm Diana Moody, 7 Elsie Way. And first of all, I'd like to say that not just me, but regardless of what people may disagree or agree with what you decide, I think everyone knows that you're here because you want to make a difference. And I do think it's really an altruistic position because you take a lot of time and maybe not sacrifice, I don't wanna say sacrifice, but anyway, you know what I'm saying, you take up your personal time to get things done, so I thank you for that. And so I am here to endorse Marjorie Winters. Since 2000, Marjorie has served as chairman of the Wetlands and Conservation Commission. She's also a member of the Open Space Committee. Through these positions, she works tirelessly to promote sustainable land management practices and advocates for the preservation of natural resources, demonstrating her unwavering commitment to the community and its environment. Marjorie was the assistant director of the Roaring Brook Nature Center, where she shared her passion and taught science and nature, which is her passion. She extended this enthusiasm by delivering presentations and lectures on topics such as conservation, nature, and landscaping to the town of Simsbury and beyond Simsbury. So I do think that she is the most qualified because of her background. But I am concerned about the decision that you're going to make tonight. And some of the decisions about conservation this town has made lately. So I also agree with Susan and Diane Nash with some of the things that they said, but I'm concerned about some of the decisions that you made about our conservation. And one is what Susan mentioned about the farmers giving up some of their land to support solar. That really concerns me. So here's some facts that I pulled up. The United States loses approximately 2,000 acres of farmland and ranch land every day, which translates to nearly 1 square mile daily. This rapid, consistent loss is driven by development, urbanization, and energy projects, amounting to 4.3 acres of agriculture land lost every minute. So I think these kinds of decisions are directly connected of who we vote for the Wetlands Commission, because Marjorie does have the expertise. So I ask you to think about your decision tonight, and I think that voting for Marjorie will be a step in that right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, Ellen?
I did not write down.
You can come, you're allowed to speak.
So, my turn?
Yeah, your turn.
My name is Ellen Gilbert. I live at 126 Hot Meadow Street, Unit 3E, so I'm in a condo complex. I've been retired for a couple of years, and within a month of that, I read about Vessel and they're wanting to build this apartment, and it was going before the Conservation and Wetlands Commission. And so starting the month after I retired, I started going to all those meetings. And then my attendance at meetings grew and grew. I knew Marjorie back when our sons were in Boy Scouts. And she taught the boys a lot. And through the years of attending her meetings, she looks at the whole picture. She looks at, yes, the wetlands. And the last meeting was voted just based on wetlands. And just like Diane said, they said we can't wait for Marjorie to come back. It's because Marjorie, and these were their words, because she knows so much about conservation, we need to hear her part of of the decision-making, and this has to do with McLean's. So I did not come here tonight to speak. I came here to listen. But after listening to a lot of what is said, I have a concern that Marjorie's position as a chairperson of the Conservation and Inland Wetlands Agency, I'm afraid that it is in jeopardy, and her losing that position would put Simsbury in a jeopardy that I don't even want to imagine, because our town has been farmland, our town has been conservation, and it's lots and lots of wetlands, and there is such a push to develop on whatever property can be found that I strongly suggest that you keep her on that board. When I read, and I did read the agenda, and I read the lists of different people, but I did not calculate that Marjorie might not be just voted right in. So I please, for the sake of our town today and going forward, I ask that you keep her on that board. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sure.
Good job. Regina Landsberg, 278 Old Farms Road. So I graduated from the Master Gardener Program in 2024. I've been very involved. I'm program chair for one of the garden clubs in Simsbury, very involved with everything gardening, everything nature, since I retired. And I can tell you, Marjorie walks on water in the conservation, in the environmental, in the gardening, in the invasive, anything nature. She is wildlife. She is the upper echelon and beyond. She knows so much. I mean, the woman is just really sought after to give talks, to give, to hold seminars. And I think I've been to a number of the water conservation meetings, and she really knows her stuff, but she looks at all the different angles and what the town ordinances are, and as other people have said, she comes at it from all angles, and I think she's just such a trusted authority, and I would, as the last speaker said, I think it would be an incredible loss to not have her on the conservation committee, because she's just I don't think anybody could take her place. And it's great to have new blood or whatever that other people have recommended, but I don't think she can be replaced, and it would be very sad if this took place.
Thank you, Regina. Anyone else here for public audience? Paul.
Paul Hinault, 12 Wingate. Sorry for my voice. Maybe I lost it a little bit at the Patriots game yesterday. Anyway, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, and I did sit through all of the presentations. I know you guys have a very busy schedule, and I'll try not to use all of my 5 minutes. And I also want to say I don't have anything against Baird, who is also on the list for conservation. He sounds like a very fine individual with some very good credentials for the Sustainability Committee. But I also want to point out to the members of the Board of Selectmen that, and maybe the public is aware of this, but there's 3 people being put up for renomination, okay? There is Marjorie, who's a Republican, and there's 2 Democrats. Mr. Baird is also a Democrat. So your choice is a couple of things. You can not reappoint Marjorie and appoint Baird. That's one, all right? And then that would give 3 Democrats on that board. Or you can reappoint all 3 who are up for reappointment. And then as a spot opens up later on in conservation, because somebody either decides to retire or doesn't want to fill their term, he can then be appointed. So you don't have to make that choice. I do find it a little odd that for a spot where there were only 3 reappointments, 4 people were put up. And now, in all transparency, I was chair of the nominating committee for the Republican Town Committee for a number of years. I know the process. I know Mr. Sauls is the chairman of the Democratic Town Committee. So he knows the process very well and how it works. Over the years, the town has worked very, very closely together with the 2 parties to put up people who are very well credentialed for these spots. You do that so it's the benefit of the town. You don't get into a political fight over an appointment, particularly when you have somebody of Marjorie's qualifications, all right? Marjorie, I've worked with her, I've interviewed her many times on Simsbury Community Media, all right? She's also I served with her for she's president of Simsbury Land Trust, director for Renbrook. She's also an environmental engineer. She knows the law. She knows that for Inland Water Agency, that part of the Conservation Commission, you have to follow the law. So to lose that expertise would be very, very detrimental, I think, to Simsbury overall. The other 2 individuals who are up for reappointment, they have served very well. And I think that they should also be reappointed. Find a spot later for a new candidate to come in. And then you would preserve all of the intellectual capital that exists on conservation. You may not agree with every decision that conservation makes, but that's the way it works. And you have an opportunity to do it. You don't change it by a political appointment. Thank you for listening. And oh, by the way, in all my years of serving the town, this is the very first time I've been on this side of it. So I find it a little nerve-wracking, and I appreciate everybody who does take the time to come up here and express their opinion. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Kept your promise, Paul. There's only 19 seconds left.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, anybody else? Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, now we have our consent agenda, to put things on our consent agenda. And I know we're not putting on the consent agenda item D.
You sure?
Thank you.
Okay, I was going to ask the board about the other appointments. So just to paraphrase, we have a bunch of appointments to multiple boards and commissions. Some of them are reappointments. Some of them we're proud to be putting on some new unaffiliated voters who came in through the town website, not through a party, and filled spots that neither party offered up a name. And this is part of our mission, is to get unaffiliated voters on these boards and commissions, so it's not just party. So we have 3 boards and commissions in here where we're doing just that. But I wanna ask if people would be comfortable moving everything from A to L to consent, or if they have any they'd like to talk about.
With the exception of
D.
So I and J, I think, and I'm looking for the other ones, just for the purposes of
Oh, the H,
discussion.
I, and J are the new U's. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, that's correct, thank you. So
Okay.
H, I, and J, just for the purposes of discussion.
Sure, that's great, because then we can call them out and I can share what they've said.
Because of the detail, exactly, thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, and then for the action items, sadly, we only have, I would offer up item E, which is the tax overpayments, unless we want to get into a detailed discussion on that. And also move the acceptance of a donation with thank you from Peter Oscom.
I agree.
Is everybody okay with that?
Fine with that.
So somebody want to make that motion to move those to consent?
I move appointments and resignations A, B, C, E, F, G, K, L, and action item, E under appointments, and action item
B and H.
B and H.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so now everybody who's here gets to listen to my first selectmen's report, which I usually make short, but I'm gonna say what I have here. No, I'm not gonna read everything. I wanna thank the voters for voting on the referendum on 124 and the Performing Arts Center. It was approved. I was happy to see it pass. It's a major project in our town. Our board has helped fund it over the years. And, due to some cost changes and things like that, we're looking forward to a great season and a great future. They've announced the Indigo Girls, which the seating map shows many people have bought tickets for, including myself, even though I don't know their music, because I'm out of their age group. And we look forward to having the HSO here. Nod Road Solar, there is going to be the hearing, a public hearing on April 23rd. I will share the information here. It will be on the town website. It will be by Zoom, so if you were interested in providing context there, you'll get more information on that. On the budget kickoff, we're gonna have the town manager present the budget on 2/18, followed by a workshop on the 28th, followed by a potential special meeting on the 2nd. And we will be presenting to the Board of Finance on the 10th. All of this is in here, so I'm not gonna give all the details. Just a couple things, charter public hearing. Chris Barnett will be here on February 18th to present the charter to the board. And the public hearing that we are putting on by rules is going to be on February 23rd. We have a limited time frame that we've got to get this all done and get it back to them if we want to make changes. So things are going to be moving really fast for us. I do want to talk about the unaffiliated voters and engaging new volunteers. This is a process that's in process. We're trying to not do everything the way it was done before because there's no written policy on how things have been done before. So just bear with us. I said I'm happy to announce the 3 voters, and since the unaffiliated voters, since we're going to go through them, I'm not saying any more here. I do want to acknowledge February is Black History Month. It's a time to celebrate and explore Black culture in our society. In Simsbury, I want to thank our DEI Commission for continuing their efforts around diversity, equity, and inclusion and making us all feel welcome. We're lucky to live in this community that strives to be welcoming to all. On a related note, and an insult to Black History Month, I do want to take the opportunity to express my disgust at the racist post on social media by our POTUS. It lacked decency, respect, and decorum at the top, and it's over the top, and enough is enough. We have the SVAA here. If you go through our packet, there's a whole thing on project capital updates. And with that, I think I don't really need to say more. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everybody. Just briefly, a few really kind of cool things to go over. On January 16th, the library welcomed American Library Association President, Dr. Maria McCauley, back to her hometown. There was a lot about that on social media, but a fantastic day. Staff and guests enjoyed her presentation and mingled, and we want to thank her for taking the time to share her knowledge and expertise in the field with a pretty packed house. There was a planning and community development department hosted with the zoning commission, a community forum to talk about temporary business signs. That happened on Thursday, 29th, again over at the library at 6:30. Pretty well attended. This was a discussion put on around the yin and yang of the billboards and some neon signs, and so a vibrant conversation. And zoning and our planning folks are looking at that to update things. I want to thank the Charter Revision Commission. Congratulations to all of the commissioners. There are 9 of them who have spent a tremendous amount of time, all unpaid volunteers. As you know, they completed their final meeting and their public hearing. And as you know, the proposed charter and draft report are now in front of the Board of Selectmen. As the first selectman indicated, it's going to be a process that could lead to a referendum on those proposed changes. I want to call out our town attorney, Bob DiCrescenzo. I think this is his 4th or 5th charter. He's been with the town a long time. So if you're listening, Bob, thank you for your work. And also management specialist Franklin Maruco, who, as I commented earlier, has done a significant amount of work in support of the commission. I'm pleased to report that on January 30th, Karma, which is the town's risk management and insurer, awarded the town an award for excellence in risk management. This is the organization's premier award. The town also got, as a part of that, a $2,500 grant that it can use to further risk management and safety procedures here. When I became town manager a couple of years ago, one of the first things we did was we got the board to submit to approve the creation of the Human Resources Department. One of the things HR has been doing is working across all of the departments and all of our employees to mitigate risk. Our workmen's compensation claims have dropped by 45%. And I think we can also look forward to fewer lawsuits across the organization as a result of some of the things that a group of internal staff have taken ownership of. On the same day that we got that award, the town closed on the property purchase at 2 Farms Village Road. I think everyone has heard me give the Board of Selectmen an update on this from time to time. That was an innovative purchase of a property adjacent to the high school. I had the privilege, along with Selectman Diana Yaisley, to attend the Board of Education's budget workshop on Saturday that was held from 9 till about 2. Very pleased to steal some of their thunder, that the work, particularly in the special education space, aided by that property acquisition, is on track to save taxpayers the significant amount of money that we said that would be saved. So more on that later. We are wrapping up work on the property. We got a temporary CO yesterday, I believe, and the Board of Education is going to be in there within the next month or 2. Want to please join me in welcoming a new local business, Simsbury Dental Associates. They held a ribbon cutting ceremony on January 29th. I was able to attend, and they're located at 381 Hot Meadow Street, Suite 302. Thanks very much for the opportunity to address you all earlier on the website. Just want to add one note of personal privilege on that, again emphasizing the test module was made live for the benefit of the public. We didn't cut over to the new website and have at it. It was a test site clearly identified as a test to get comments from the public. If we've missed any members of the public who want to get those comments to us and feel that they were omitted or left out in error, please get them to our Deputy Town Manager, Tom Fitzgerald, or to myself. It's a work in process, and we want to make absolutely sure that every single concern about the new website is taken care of. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you, Mark. So hopefully people don't have too much to say. I'll start with Kevin for liaison subcommittee reports.
I have nothing to update.
Oh, Kevin, good job.
I would just want to say Parks and Rec, they have a new logo for this year. That's something that's new that's coming out. And also Wendy had mentioned it last time, sign-ups for camps started already. I think they're already sold out because they sell out within first minute there. So I just want to.
Tough luck.
Yeah.
Nice.
You gotta get up early for that,
I have nothing to report.
okay?
I always have things to report,
You do.
sorry,
Start the
but I
timer.
do.
Lock up.
Quickly, Board of Ed, Mark already mentioned their budget workshop, but one thing to note, in that workshop, they really focused on operating. They're going to be discussing CIP and CNR tomorrow night at their Board of Ed meeting. So if you wanna hear anything for capital and CNR, Board of Ed meeting is tomorrow night. And mentioning Two Farms Village Road, they have already been given interest from other districts wanting to know when they can apply for spots. DEI, they did elect new chairs, vice chair and volunteer coordinator. They updated their policies and procedures, which will be coming to us. They are hosting once again their human library, March 28th at the library. And the community is welcome to please attend DEI meetings and go to public audience if there's anything you want to discuss. The library meeting is tonight. They are doing their strategic planning. To note, there was, from the state budget, just today came out $140,000 cut from the midterm budget for Connect Card, which is the interlibrary borrowing system. And it's gonna affect our library at the tune of about $17,000. But they're looking to see what they can mitigate that. They are gonna be hosting a teen photo contest in March. Public safety, the one thing I want to note is that there have been consistent cold weather protocols that have been issued for our town over the last month since due to the severe cold weather. There have been notices gone out on the website, notices gone out on the listserv, and the plowing and Eversource updates have been coming in consistently with this cold weather and snow that we've been having. The Aging and Disability Commission had a Super Thursday and it was well attended, and they are looking at accessibility in our town and our parking lots, more to come on that. You already mentioned the Indigo Girls, and lastly, the Youth Service Advisory Board, Intergenerational Pizza and Movie this Friday at the library with K-pop Demon Hunters being shown at 1:00, and jobs for summer rec are now open, and the job applications they're usually 15 and over, but please have your youth apply.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Really, the biggest issue we had was EDC. We had a lively discussion. Unfortunately, as you saw in our agenda, we had 2 resignations from that. Very honestly, they are looking for more direction from the Board of Selectmen as to what we want them to do.
Yeah.
So I will be poking and prodding you to get that direction from you.
Yeah, I hope we can talk about stuff like that during the budget too, on where we fund and who we fund.
I think
That's
that's
a
all
really
part
good
of it.
point. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Everybody's good? I do wanna make one comment that was made. Actually, I did not direct staff to keep the timer. It was decided at our agenda prep with Town Manager Mark Nelson at the table, Deputy First Selectman Steve Antonio, and Deputy Town Manager Tom Fitzgerald to make a decision together on who would do the clock. So just wanted to clarify that today. So now we're moving on to the highlight of our night here, to talk about the agenda item number D, did I say? Yeah. Item D. We have a good list of candidates for Conservation Commission. There's a lot of value in Marjorie Winters on this board and commission, and there's a lot of value in adding Baird Faithful to this board and commission. One thing I will say is if we do nothing, they ride over until the board changes. One question I would like to put out there that Paul Hinault put out there, we have the chair of both parties in this room. There are seats on the Republican side on the Board of Conservation and Commission who could potentially leave their seats early, just like we're asking to evaluate members on the Democratic side of the commission. It's just a matter of timing right now for Marjorie. So is there any opportunity for both parties to discuss and come up with the best group forward for this commission, regardless of party? As we're saying, none of this should be partisan. So just putting that out there to the chairs. Christine, is that something you would look at for your members?
your specific
Point of order, I don't think it's appropriate to engage the audience in this matter while we're discussing it.
Well, I'm trying to bring to a resolution so that we maybe don't act on it and we get
Well, I'll make a
somebody to
motion to
act on it.
table the agenda item for a future meeting.
Okay, what do you guys think?
I'll second that so we can discuss it.
Okay, let's discuss it. I'm discussing it at this level. I don't like being accused of politicizing an appointment.
Sure.
I'm
That's why it's
stand,
reasonable to table it, that's why I made the motion, and then it allows us to discuss it, and refer it back to the parties.
okay, so I would like to refer it back to the parties, but to make sure that you evaluate everybody from both parties and not make it partisan, which is the whole point of the meeting here tonight, was to not make it about a person's party, but their qualifications. We know both Baird is qualified and we know Marjorie's qualified, and there's 5 other members on this board and commission. Some of them, their terms are up in 2 years, as Paul suggested, maybe somebody would like to step down, so Marjorie could keep a seat and we could get Baird on. Are those things that the chairs and parties would be willing to look at?
So here's my concern in general. First of all, I'm not sure tabling is going to actually solve the issue because we have 4 applicants who applied appropriately for 3 spots. And we, have to make a decision. And now I forgot my second thought, honestly, like, I had a whole thought.
It was succinct, Diane, you can do both.
I think, this was my point, is that this seems to have turned into a Baird versus Marjorie, both on this potentially on this dais, but from the public. And I understand people were speaking on behalf of Marjorie and people came and spoke on behalf of Baird, but it then seemed to have turned into a Baird versus Marjorie, and as pointed out, there are through other people in consideration as well. So I think it is unfair to look at it as a one versus the other opportunity, which is where this tone has seemingly turned into, because we have qualified candidates. And I'm addressing the motion to table, not any other further motion, which I may have some dialogue to share on. But the motion to table, I just have concerns in what is it going to accomplish.
Anybody have any other comments on that?
I think we can send a message to the 2 town committees to try and work together before we hash it out. There's a bunch of points, I'll be honest, I wanna bring up, but I don't wanna get into the rehashing, cause again, it does seem like it's Baird versus Marjorie, and both are qualified. The question is there somebody less qualified that would yield, either that is up for election or not up for election? I think you posed the question well, to look at as a whole, and then circle back at our next meeting. I'm not saying table it like put our head in the sand, but if there is a pathway forward where everyone could be happy, that would be the best. And otherwise, we have to make, it is gonna become Baird versus Marjorie. And I don't really, I like them both, up front.
Yeah.
And I don't know who would be less qualified than the other. If Baird and Marjorie are the most qualified,
Right, we don't have
where else
information
can we
on
go?
Charles or Mike Luzetti, who's the principal of, which school is he?
Principal of Latimer Lane.
Latimer Lane, and he's a new appointment, he's only joined in the last few years. I'm not sure how long Charles Halderman's been on the commission, but I believe both are active and attend the meetings. I don't know the other people.
Another concern, to be
Right,
frank,
of
that I was
attendance.
gonna bring up.
So,
So I'm for tabling it, just to put that out there. I don't know where everyone else falls on this. Not indefinitely, tabling it to the next meeting.
well, we could just table it, and if it doesn't come back, the board just sticks. If we don't get any options, the board stays as it is.
Well, I wouldn't put any qualifications past, let's just table.
Well, no, I
That's
think
where I'm at.
if it gets tabled and there's no resolution, we have to address this appointment as it stands on the agenda. We wouldn't just carry over, we would still have to vote on this appointment.
Technically, I don't know if that's true, Tom. If there's no appointments made,
A person stays serving in their seat until, like their
Until.
term has expired, but they stay there until someone's appointed to the seat.
So we still have to address the appointments, because the appointments would not have been made.
I have a quick question just to the pathway. One is a chair, so I mean, would the chair and vice chair stay indefinitely in that scenario, or? Because don't they vote amongst themselves, if I'm not mistaken, on who's chair, so?
I don't know the rules and procedures.
Or would it have to be somebody that's not up for reelection or reappointed, sorry?
And it would depend on what that board's rules of procedure are.
Okay, fine.
I think something else that we wanna be cognizant of is the fact that conservation and inland and wetlands have ongoing applications, and you don't want to do this in the middle of an application and potentially adversely affect where that's going.
Well, if they're gonna continually have ongoing applications, there's never going to be a time to appoint or reappoint.
I'm just
or-
pointing that out.
Just like when we get elected, we were in the middle of charter and new people got elected duly to this board. So.
Mike has a name.
Well, I mean, we all got elected in the middle of stuff that the previous board had been in the middle of.
Town manager.
You gotta speak at some point.
No, I mean, I think, the one thing I don't like about the tabling it is, we've got people who submitted their time to do this, and I think tabling it kind of, I don't know, I feel like maybe it's our role to accept the public, that donate their time, that wanna be on this committee, and I think tabling it, I do like the idea maybe of having the two chairs talk to each other. I personally don't have a party affiliation that says I'm voting for someone just because they're in the party. But if there was another way around this, I think that would be enjoyable for all of us.
So I'll add, one of the reasons why I'm accepting of tabling it is that this is already outside of our normal process. So I don't want to delay it necessarily longer, but we've already delayed our process with the intent, I interpret, to try to make it better. But I do feel like we may have gotten to a point where we're not making it better and we're asking the two currently serving Democrats to continue to serve. But we are actively asking, if we vote to only accept the majority nominees, for Marjorie to depart. Without fanfare, without thank you, and without process. So I would ask for your consideration here that we refer it back. And if we can get to a resolution, I think that would be helpful. And I'll also say, and be happy to in the public here, speak on behalf of Bayard, who I've gotten a chance to know through the Sustainability Committee. Very pleased with his energy, his competence, and his willingness to serve. But I have to tell you, when asked to make a decision between one or another, in this instance, I have to judge on the merits and what I know, and I would have to support Marjorie, and I would do that regardless of party. And I think that all of us here would want to support whoever we're putting up regardless of party. So it doesn't make it easier for us here because we're tugged on both of those ends. So I'd like to give us the chance to not rush into something today, table this so that we can actually have this full discussion. Maybe it'll be resolved. So anyway, that's all I have to say on that. I know we have a lot else on our agenda.
So, if I may, and when I say this with all full respect for Marjorie, and it's almost not even as much about Marjorie as it is somewhat this process, because she is a wonderful person, she is extremely qualified. However, some of the comments actually, as the argument was trying to be made in her defense, in some ways caused question for me. Because, and this again, take Marjorie's name out of the situation, in the fact that a board has become solely dependent on one person is concerning in some ways, in that I appreciate her expertise and appreciate that person or a person of expertise there, that there's only one person that they're looking for guidance. And although that expertise may be needed in this particular area, however, is like, the board needs to be doing their full job and not be dependent on necessarily one person. And it's not about that person. I would say that to almost any board. And my point being is, wealth should be, like, everybody should be becoming expertise when they're on that board. And they all should be, she is a great resource. So I'm not, it was just somewhat of a concern in that someone has been on for so long. I don't want it to become a one-person vote board.
Yep.
And it's, again, not about Marjorie, it's about that.
I fully agree, and this will be my last comment on that point, but I think it's an excellent one, Diana, that you made. She couldn't be there for, I think, 2 of the recent meetings when they were having hearings, very involved, effectively chaired by the vice chair during that time. So that expertise did carry forward, so that's good. But just because that worked well in that instance doesn't mean that we shouldn't take advantage of the opportunity of this highly competent individual who's willing to continue to serve. That's the other issue that's eating at me. It's not as though she was unsure and we're just asking her and we just all decided to go a different way. She's been serving, is willing to continue to serve. And it feels like to me, not intentionally, I hope, that it's the bum's rush at the end. And that just feels wrong. So I'm hoping that we'll have a chance to consider it, and so that there might be an opportunity for her to continue to serve, or that we get more time and the problem can solve itself among the appointees themselves, who can make a decision about what they want to do to consider. Maybe Marjorie, maybe Bayard, maybe one of the others, I'm unsure. But that's why I'm asking for the additional time. It felt rushed today.
Who would you, I mean, I've been thinking about this for 4 weeks. I work with Marjorie on open space. I treasure working with Marjorie. She's a great voice there. I do feel that there's no lifetime appointments in this town, that there's new people that are out there that should have an opportunity to move forward. But again, when you have somebody that is in this kind of niche, it's very difficult to replace that person. So I've struggled with this decision for a long time to bring it to this. Going back to your point of tabling, what is your proposal if we table? Who is going to bring what back to us?
So by tabling it, it gives time for
what?
the individual parties who have made the nomination, for the individual candidates themselves who have been nominated to consider or reconsider whether or not they want to, and then ultimately we'll have to make a decision about this appointment. I think we should and shouldn't just leave it as a vacancy appointment.
Should we get all information on all candidates on the commission so that we can look at everybody equally?
Well, some of their terms aren't up, so
No, I
what we're
know,
considering
but Paul mentioned that maybe somebody would leave early or something like that as an option, so should we look at
I think
everybody?
that's a perfect reason. All these questions are why I support tabling it today.
All right, so let's call the vote. Is who everybody in favor of tabling it, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, so it's tabled. If it doesn't come back,
Is there a timeline on it?
Earliest,
Our next meeting.
I would
If it
say the
doesn't come
earliest
back, it
reasonable
doesn't
meeting,
come
it doesn't
back.
have to be the next meeting.
yeah, let's move on.
The next thing is I, Technology Task Force.
Sounds like we have some homework.
Here, do you want to know?
Sounds like it.
No, I haven't.
Somehow it got past to us.
So I left this open. We're still in a meeting here, you guys, so if you could just leave quietly or stay quietly, that would be helpful.
HIJ.
I'm on, HIJ, Sustainability Commission, we're reappointing, there's 5 spots, and 3 Democrats were being nominated for reappointment. 1 is being renominated, reappointment from the Republican Town Committee. There was a spot where no one appointed anybody. And received the applications that are included in the packet. And Sean McLaughlin was asked to be on sustainability. I called him. His resume was included. He was very excited to serve on that committee. And since nobody gave us any appointments, I put his name forward here.
So I'll make the motion to approve the nominations as presented for the purpose of the discussion.
Is there a second?
Second. Steve, take it.
Right, so did we talk with Sustainability Committee Chair or anything about Sean?
Nope.
Did you get a chance to talk?
No, I ran out of time, and I made the decision to take the applications that we wanted and to put this person's name forward.
I'm gonna have similar questions regarding, we kind of have to keep the doors open, unfortunately.
Yeah, leave the door
Ellen,
open,
you have
please,
to
Ellen, it
leave the door
has to stay
open.
open.
Yes.
For an open meeting.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that.
We have no.
Does seem a little.
Okay, so, what is your concern?
The other, I have no concerns about Sean, I just don't know him, and I'm glad that you got a chance to talk with him, but I think for this process, I would offer, it would be helpful for the host committee that they're gonna serve on has an opportunity to talk with them, or at the very least, as we've discussed previously, that the personnel
Tom's closing
subcommittee
it.
take on that role, take on the role of talking to them, so there's more than just one person. I think it's absolutely acceptable for a member of this board to put somebody's name in the nomination, and I think it's absolutely acceptable that this board nominates unaffiliated or other candidates who are appropriate here and vote on them even if they haven't been nominated by a party. But I do think that more than one person in a process is helpful.
And, okay, thank you, and the process is evolving, as we know. So I would like to just call a vote on the motion that's on the table.
Could you help me understand why we didn't refer it to personnel?
Because that is not necessarily part of the process yet, it has not been firmly defined. And there was a lack of time to do that, this started in November, we hit December, I was on vacation and I was sick for 2 weeks, and that's why it's here.
We've had personnel meetings though.
When have we had one that we,
We could have
well,
easily
I'm
discussed
gonna,
this.
okay, and
So
that,
I'm
you
willing
can-
I'm willing to vote on this.
can
I'm
vote against
expressing,
it.
I'm willing to vote on it.
Okay.
I made the motion. I'm expressing my concern about the process here and that it's not a good
It's not a
process
good-
to
it needs work, just like putting forward people from other parties when there's a candidate from the existing party, how do we handle that? It's all part of the process that we've been talking about, that we need to lock down, that people also need to go through the town website, regardless if it's a reappointment or not, I've been trying to have that happen,
And I think
it's
that's
not
good.
happening. Okay, so there is work to be done, I agree, but right now, we have a valid candidate who's very interested, and I'd like to call the vote on the 5 for sustainability, all those in favor.
Just if I could call a point of order, as a deliberative body, it is our right to have discussions
It is.
here. And so I'd like the opportunity to discuss them, and if there's no other discussion, I think that's acceptable. But I think to not allow the members here to voice their concerns,
yeah.
even if it doesn't follow your opinion, is acceptable.
Okay, so if people wanna discuss the people that are upfield, I would open it up for discussion, if anybody has concerns.
Just point of order, we have a motion.
Yeah, so
second
it's discussion.
For discussion.
First discussion on the sustainability appointment of Sean McLaughlin.
Of the entire slate was my motion.
Oh, you did
Yeah,
the
but your question
DEI,
on the
the,
appointed, that
My
you got it.
discussion
got
was
it.
on that, and I'm finished.
Okay, so does anybody have any concerns or questions on that?
I'm proud of the slate that's being presented. I'm proud that we are putting yous up into position. They still are the largest party in our town. I think it's been a oversight. I do agree with Kevin that in the future, we usually do have interviews. This was more a fill-in, nobody else was recommended. The tradition has always been that we do get recommendations by either party. They didn't fill the opportunities. We put someone in, and I applaud it.
I agree, and I'll just mention that there are other unaffiliated appointees here that came from the Republican Town Committee.
And they were appointed too.
They are, I'm just pointing out that it's not like there's never been unaffiliated appointees.
No,
no.
that
we're not
wasn't my
saying that.
inference.
No, both
I was
parties
just
have
saying this
done
sustainability committee.
Coming through the website and not going through the parties, or they were sent to the parties and neither party put them forward. So it's our duty to potentially put them forward, and that's what we're doing.
And that's the problem.
That's,
And we should
that's,
formalize that process,
Yep,
and I
right.
like
we
personnel.
are trying to
Great. I'm
formalize
happy to
it.
vote.
I'll
Thank
give
you.
us a year to get
and
that
I
done.
appreciate that the efforts that we are making, it's not a finished product, and these people who did apply through the town website appropriately, and there was not even another candidate to, that was up, I wholeheartedly, support these.
So I'm gonna
appointments.
can I call the vote now? Are we done discussion? All those in favor of moving these 5 appointees forward, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the sustainability. So the same conversation will happen for the technology task force.
I'll make the motion to appoint the slate as presented.
Second.
Is there a discussion?
Tell me about Matthew Rankin.
Read what he wrote, read his
No,
application.
you interviewed him.
I got
read
it.
I
I
read
got
the-
his application. I called each person and I said, we're looking to appoint you to the technology task force. He was very excited. His skill level is very IT oriented. He works for the Connecticut State IT department. I don't have it in front of me, but that's his current job. Whereas I will say Sean McLaughlin is
IT SME, State of Connecticut.
and I felt that he would fit right in as a past member of the technology task force.
I'm happy to vote.
Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then the water pollution control, her name is Abby Lawrence. She in her application, she refers to work that she's done on a water pollution control. I don't have it up. I also called her and said, would you be interested in serving on this? And she was very excited to serve on it, given her interests. And she was the only person that came forward to volunteer for water pollution control as an unaffiliated voter through the town website. And so I put her name in.
Do we make a motion?
I'll make it.
No.
So moved to appoint, make the appointments for Water Pollution Control Authority, all
Should we-
appointments.
Should we acknowledge that her name's Abby?
Abby, well, that's what she called her, yeah, I don't know.
But
what-
her official name is Jeanette?
Yeah, that's
Jeanette
how-
Abby Lawrence.
That's what it came in from the application.
So again, we moved the slate for water,
Okay, so we
WPCA
have a
forward.
first and a second. I discussed it, I guess, before we
That's
moved
fine.
and seconded. So all those in favor of the water pollution control, say aye.
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 Okay, all right, now we're on the Thrive Farm, finally, phew. Thrive Farm,
Thanks, Chair. I think you were in the loop on this. We were requested initially to just give them a letter of support for the grant application, and then later that changed to us becoming the fiscal sponsor, and then later it morphed into us becoming the grant applicant ourselves as the property owner. We have our town engineer and Director of Public Works here to answer any questions you have. You're all familiar with the farm. This is a grant that will add a little flavor and some additional resources for the benefit of the community, and we recommend that it be approved retroactively. We did give them a letter of support, and the application has been submitted already, so just want to be transparent. You're being asked to retroactively approve it, and were the board not to approve it, we would just simply not accept it. And with that, we'll take any questions.
so is the town signing on for the
Yeah,
grant
so
or not?
we got a last minute update where they have actually asked us to, they don't really need us to be the fiscal sponsor anymore. They're just gonna go through it on their own, so actually you can amend your motions and just do the top, retroactively approve the application. You don't need the execute all documents related and the appropriate to the Board of Finance.
Okay, I have just a couple questions. Is there anything you want to say about this or no? We're just, ask my questions.
You wanna pepper me? Yeah, go ahead.
So the two tiers, one tier, $5,000 with a 25% match. It says the match is in-kind contributions or matching funds is coming from Thrive Farm. Do we know what those funds, like, if they were to get the $50,000 grant?
What this is gonna do is this is gonna help them offset their paid staff member.
Okay,
And that paid staff member is now gonna do more community outreach. They are already paying their farm manager, so it's really just gonna supplement what's already happening and allow her to focus a little bit more on some of these outreach activities, which has really been, I think, the piece that we've been excited about Thrive Farm coming into. And I would say it's gonna be really focusing on the north side of the road. We're gonna have programs that are gonna get children and kids back
Yeah.
out there, which I think is really, when you look back at the history of the property, that was really the highlight when they had camps and things out there, so head back in that direction.
this is that Sprouts program?
Yes.
Because when I went to the open house, they were there and they were all excited about it, so, Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion effective February 9th to retroactively approve the application by Thrive Farm for the 2026 Agricultural Enhancement Grant Program through the Connecticut Department of Agriculture.
From a,
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Okay, now we're on the Simsbury Farms golf course lease, and some questions were raised today. Mark, do you wanna to talk about this a little bit?
Thank you, Chair. We
I
got
want Mark to just tell us what's going on a little before we decide on that.
just some issues were raised at the 11th hour that we needed more time to look at. So in an email I circulated to the board earlier, we're requesting that the board table it to allow us time to get the answers to those questions. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, one question I had was on a contract of this sort, do we normally just if I can ask the question, do we normally vet them financially
Yeah.
to make sure? Okay, and so have we not done that to the full extent we need to?
Not to my satisfaction, I would
Okay.
say that. I mean, again, the applicant and the prospective leasee is a longtime business in the community. And to the extent that we we relied a lot on that. I think that from my perspective, I'd like to do a little bit more due diligence, so we're asking for more time.
Okay,
Did we ever get those missing
We did.
items, but are they now on the agenda for the public to see? Because they were on the agenda, on the old agenda when, if you looked at it, but that old agenda's gone. The new agenda was missing some of the addendums and the exhibits, and I just wanna make sure that they're out.
My understanding was that the copy that got scanned didn't have all of the attachments, and you raised that issue. We would have corrected it already, but we were requesting to table it, so you would see it when it comes back to you, but yes.
okay, so this will be
I
on-
just wanna make sure for the public, like they have the full packet
Yeah.
that they can see as
Oh,
well.
yeah, the pieces that were missing, 'cause
Right.
the menu did look good. I was like,
Well, there was a couple
It was a
exhibits
very
made
good
too.
menu.
Yes.
it did look good. Okay, so is somebody gonna make a motion to table this?
I'll make a motion to table this to our next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Do we need, what's our requirement, either under the charter or the law, to authorize you to sign on the lease agreements and things? What's the division from management's authority and responsibility versus our obligation on the board?
For a multi-year lease of town property, only the board can authorize my signing it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the motion is to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Tabled. Okay, now we're moving right along here. We're on the lot zip grant. And we have Tom and Adam here to talk about this.
Tom and Adam.
Well, I thought everybody was here for the lots of grant tonight.
I know, how exciting is that?
The only reason why I stayed.
I know. Well, I guess I'm gonna tee it up and I'll let Adam bring it home. Long and short of it, every few years, the Capital Region Council of Government has a solicitation for this lots of grant. It's one of the better infrastructure funding grants that they put out for towns and communities like us. They have $45 million available. We cannot get all of it. When they put out this solicitation, they have a very clear direction of where they're looking for this infrastructure to go. Adam and I and others had long discussions about what projects we may have that would be a good candidate. We had identified the intersection of Hoskins and County a couple years ago through our intersection safety program. It's an unusual intersection. There's not been a terrible amount of crashes, but it's fairly high speed and it is not a clean intersection. We had actually hoped to present. We had two concepts a few months ago, and we were just trying to look for a day where the board was not quite so busy. We're looking to.
Good luck.
Yeah, we're looking to propose a roundabout. We would be responsible for the engineering design fees, and the grant would cover 100% of the costs. It has significant safety improvements for that intersection. We wouldn't need any land, and Adam's gonna answer the really tough technical questions.
You covered most of it, so yeah, so like Tom said, this is kind of that Y intersection that we sometimes have in town here, and in the past, we've simply teed them up, and that kind of corrects the issue. Here we have an opportunity, since we own property next to it, we have sufficient right of way, and we know Hoskins' speeds are higher than desired.
Both County Road and Hoskins.
Right, and you know, we PD went out and took some radar out there and found that the 85th percentile is around 42 miles an hour, 43 miles an hour on Hoskins Road, both east-west of the intersection as well as on County. Both roads are posted at 30. So this is where that roundabout solution kind of really comes into play, where the roundabout will decrease speeds on Hoskins and create a little safer condition on Hoskins, through the intersection and up and down the road. And also correct that sightline issue that County Road has, where you're sitting there, not only are you kind of looking back behind you, but there's also a slight crest in Hoskins that makes it difficult to see beyond. The other option, of course, is a traditional T intersection, where we bring County into Hoskins at a 90-degree angle and correct that Y intersection. In terms of cost, doing that is something that's probably somewhere to the tune of $350,000 to $500,000, all in with engineering and design. We feel the design cost for a roundabout is probably around $200,000 to $230,000. And then lots of grant would pay for the construction costs in its entirety. I think in your packet, the estimate was around 1.4 million. We've since gone back and done an actual estimate with our consultant. And if this went through a grant program, as we know, we get to go through DOT reviews. And sometimes they ask for extra things. So that estimate grew to about 2.3 million. However, it's grant funded. Maximum grant award is, I think, 4.2 million now. Each year they've kind of bumped it up a little bit, recognizing everything's getting more expensive. So that's
But
really
the T intersection wouldn't be covered, like the LOTSID grant was only for the roundabout, not a T intersection.
correct. We would for a T intersection that
Sorry.
would have to
I
be
know
town funded. No, it's a great question. There's really no grant that would apply to simply teeing up the road. But it's a lower cost option. The T intersection wouldn't affect speeds on Hoskins at all. We would still have that 85th percentile above 40 miles an hour. Structurally, in terms of traffic calming, the roundabout is probably the least invasive way. Nobody's a really big fan of speed bumps. So this is one of those tools in the toolbox that we can use to influence speeds in the right direction. Really, the only thing that's come up recently in the state is, which you've probably heard about, is the towns that have put in the speed cameras. That has reduced speeds dramatically in those corridors. A lot of towns have seen reductions of 10 miles an hour or more. But these are kind of would be two items that I would look at to reduce speeds, especially on approach to a school. Otherwise, it's happy to answer questions. I mean, roundabouts are just really known as reducing the conflict points and reducing the severity of crashes. In general, you have side swipes as opposed to 90-degree crashes and rear ends. So
I think that's really the big one. I was for years not the biggest fan of roundabouts, as many people are a little resistant, but when there are crashes associated with roundabouts, the police can't come, information is exchanged, and there's not ambulances and there's not injuries.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, one of the problems with that intersection actually isn't the intersection, it's the short elevation change between where the tobacco barn is and the actual intersection on Hoskins going down to Route 10. Is that addressed at all, because black ice forms there and a lot of the actual accidents are caused by that black ice and the lack of visibility as you come over the crest?
Right, and that's where some of the cost comes from, is when we're looking at doing a roundabout, we're running up County and Hoskins in either direction and reconstructing the road and kind of fixing some
So
of
you'll
those
address
elevation
that.
changes, yeah.
The other thing is the 1991 POCD. It is
Were you
the
in high school?
1991.
Were you in high school then?
No, I was old enough to be aware of the 1991 POCD. It calls for that auxiliary road between the intersection of County and Hoskins that comes down via Dorset's Crossing to intersect with Wolcott. Would that fit in with this? Is that forethought being taken into account as you construct this roundabout?
That, I mean, it could work, because it would be a fourth leg to the
It would
roundabout.
be, I'm just
Right into the
bringing it up,
roundabout.
cause
It would be-
now's the time to bring it up.
Yeah, and that's certainly a possibility when the solar farm goes away. If that was
20 years?
extended, it would be a simpler kind of add to a roundabout that
It's
exists
15
already.
now.
15.
It's funny, you think when we went into the solar farm, 25 years will be forever, but it's already.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. It's a safer intersection than a four-way type of intersection.
It is very helpful to have 4 people on this board that live out
Yeah,
in
exactly.
intersections every day. Curtis and I do it
Yeah, we
rarely, unless I'm going to
Lives
your
on the road
house or
from me.
your house, but Mike, you can invite me over, I'll come to
So
your
I
house.
was wondering about, so
Mike has
West-
seen me out there directing traffic.
West Hartford did
Yes.
a roundabout, King Philip there and all that. How is this gonna not be a massive failure,
Yeah.
like?
Do you wanna take that? It's such a fun question.
Yeah, we knew that would come up.
Motion to table.
Yeah.
I didn't say that it was a
So-
roundabout.
Which I support this, by the way, just to
Yeah.
get clarity.
Yeah, that was
I
a
just
good-
wanna know what we're getting into.
That's a good
I mean,
question.
it's an unfortunate occurrence for roundabouts everywhere, for that incident in West Hartford. Generally, kind of make something, I mean, that roundabout in particular, I think the truck was probably not traveling at the appropriate speed through there.
That happens through there.
Right through the
It was to get over the hill.
Right, right. The roundabout would be designed to take, any of those types of trucks through there, because we know there's farm vehicles, there's certainly tractor trailers that might go through there now and again. The center circle's always a mountable curb and a mountable area for trucks to get up, and navigate just fine.
And the other challenge with West Hartford is that was an attempt at a mini roundabout. It was really less of an intersection, more of traffic calming. And one of the key things when you're doing a roundabout is you need a vertical element in the center of the roundabout.
Yeah.
To
They
give
tried that
drivers the understanding that they are coming up to a roundabout and they can understand they are gonna go around something.
Right.
And it's small details that really can make something like this, something that a driver can understand how to navigate it better. And again, that's why we're gonna bring in some experts, because even as you approach, typically the roadway going into the roundabout always has a curvature to it, so you're not coming in perpendicular to the curve.
Well, you obviously don't want something too high, cause you want to get your plows through there.
The plows are gonna go around. Plows are never gonna go through this roundabout.
Right, but I know that you make it a little bit more like a road diet around
Exactly.
it, but then you have a little bit of a shoulder or
Mountable-
something
yeah,
in
the
there.
mountable curve.
Is there a median in here? I see it marked on here, but I can't tell if those are road markings or it's actually a median that you're putting in.
Yes, at the approaches, there would be medians.
So it's divided.
And we also are kind of future-proofing it, and it would be set up for sidewalks and crosswalks.
Will there be a sidewalk that makes the county road partial walking path go all the way down?
That would be one potential. It may be a future project to this one, or it may be something we can work in.
Yeah, that's like an incompleted open
Wasn't that on the
space.
isn't that a capital item to talk about too for the?
I don't
Well,
know
yeah,
if
if
it's-
we were
there's
doing this,
funding.
it's a
Those
little piece
paths.
to get up to Kilbourne.
I meant the paths that
Yep.
was part of the. One question I had, which you already answered, was this couldn't apply to any other existing projects that we've had on the books instead of creating a new project or a project that's not been in a CNR CIP recently. So somebody said that this is good for this specific project only. But there is a match here, right?
That we would be responsible for the engineering design.
Yeah, so that means that are we committing ourselves now to that funding, or will the funding request come back to us when we need to make it?
It would be coming back to us when we need
But
to make it.
in essence, if we get the grant, we're gonna have to make the funding request for 130 plus whatever. If the cost goes up to 2 something, it's gonna be whatever percentage it is, so.
Right.
So we're willing to,
And I think that's always the point of us discussing grants, that, if we were to go forward with it, we would have, give or take, $130,000 to $200,000 of skin in the game. But we would be getting, give or take, a $2.3 million piece of infrastructure.
yeah, I get it. I'm just saying the opportunity cost of that money somewhere down the line may come into play.
Yep.
Just pointing that out.
What's the timeline on the project if it all goes well, and then and then where this sits on the repaving schedule?
That's quite a loaded question. So, in terms of the grant, we would hear probably over the summer, whether it's successful or not, into the fall. And then then DOT reviews the applications, and there's sometimes back and forth. So even though we apply now, we might not be getting into design until this time next year. And then that can often take a year back and forth with DOT here and there. The good thing is we don't have right of way to take or easements, which can add a month, 9 to 12 months.
Yeah, a long
in
time.
that. Yeah, as we've seen with Firetown Road sidewalk, so.
But to the other part of your question is if we see that we've received this grant, we would then adjust our paving schedule not to pave something that we're gonna tear out.
Well, I assumed that you wouldn't necessarily do that, but I didn't know if it needed to get paved right away and then we're gonna see it get deteriorated over the next 5 years as that project gets mapped out.
Very, very similar to Climax Road, we have wanted to do some guide rail improvements out there, but because we have the bridge replacement in the queue and that's all gonna get taken care of, we've deferred that as much as we can as long as we maintain safety.
And rubberized chip seal for
Don't go get me on the chip seal.
Yeah, it's so noisy.
thank
Okay.
you, that's good for me.
So, I'm gonna ask somebody to read and make the motion. I feel like reading. Would you like to do that, Steve?
Sure.
He is your deputy after all.
Yes, I'm gonna put him to work here. I'll call the vote
I'd like to
then.
make a
Thanks, Mom.
motion effective February 9th, 2026, to authorize town manager Mark Nelson to submit a proposal and funding request to CROG under the 2026 LoTSIP solicitation to fund intersection improvements at the intersection of County Road and Hosking Road. In the event the grant is awarded, the following additional motion is in order. A move to accept the 2026 LoTSIP solicitation funding and authorize town manager Mark Nelson to execute all documents related to the grant award. I further move to appropriate the grant funds and recommend said appropriation to the Board of Finance.
Is there a second? There is a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is any opposed? No. Okay, so it passes. Okay, Amy?
Come on, roundabout.
Long meeting, bad timing here. We have to approve the fiscal year 20 funds. Are you here to present this or to walk us through this?
Whatever you want me to do.
How about walking us through it a bit? Since you're here.
So this is your general fund mid-year transfer request that you see each year. I just want to comment for the public, these are not supplemental appropriations. This is transfer requests for departments within the budget that have already been approved as part of the budget process. So for the contingency line items, this is something that we went through during the budget process. There are mainly unsettled contracts that are negotiated, that are done after the budget process. And all we're doing here is taking the value of that contingency line item and transferring it out into the appropriate full-time line items to reallocate those dollars for the CSEA contracts, the AFSCME contracts, and the unaffiliated employees contracts. Basically just lining up our budget with our actuals. And then as we go into next budget season, we'll have another contingency line item and do the same thing going forward. So the contingency line item is everything that has been approved during the budget process. And then on the next page, you'll see additional department transfer requests. And these are requests where we take a look at the budget and any departments that we're seeing that are showing potential savings. If there are other departments that are showing potential deficits, we try to take a look and realign those mid-year, and then we'll do it again at year end. So just going through them quickly, so my department, we are asking for an additional $11,000. Unfortunately, I have a staff member that is out on FMLA right now, and we are getting behind on a few things, bank recs, journal entries. We just finished our fraud risk assessment and want to finish implementing that. And then it's not in here, but towards the end of the summer, we have another staff member going out on FMLA. So we don't want to keep getting behind to get behind. We're looking to get some additional funding so that we can get caught up and be in a good place and hopefully be a little bit ahead of things before my second staff member goes out on FMLA. During the Latimer Lane project, we had a separate construction capital project fund, and during this process, Latimer Lane had to have its own insurance policy. Now that Latimer Lane has been complete, that insurance goes back onto our master policy and is redistributed. So during the fiscal year 25 budget process, we did not allocate the additional overage for the Latimer Lane. So we fixed that during the fiscal year 25 closeout, but we did not include it in the fiscal year 26 budget. So we're asking for a reallocation of funds to true up our insurance line item to account for adding Latimer Lane back onto our master policy. The next two have to do with the highway department, which Tom Ray can answer any detailed questions you have. But as you know, we've had quite a lot of storms this year compared to prior years. We're already over budget on the overtime line item, so since we're already over budget now, we know that we will be over budget for year end. And so we're asking for an additional $85,000 to get us through the rest of the snow season and into the spring season for our overtime. And then also requesting an additional $85,000 for salt purchases to reestablish our salt supply for the salt that's been used during the various storms. So that's just a high-level overview. Happy to answer any more detailed questions you might have.
So pretty much, it just transfers, there's no additional asks here other than the 170, the 85 and 85 for the, and that's coming from the police, it looks like, from another line item.
Correct, it's coming from a savings line item into
Okay.
this line item, right.
One thing that just, I don't know what it means, nobody mentions this 5,000 under community services. What is that? Is that my raise? Which I'm not getting till the budget gets approved.
Next job.
It's a joke here, sorry. But I don't know what that 5,000 is. Was it for something?
So that is the reallocation that we're proposing for the January referendum mailer cost that just happened.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't labeled, so I just didn't know what it was. Okay. Questions, anybody else?
How much was it last year that we cut the salt budget because we didn't need to use it? And
You're
then
supposed to predict for us exactly how much it's
Right.
gonna need, how
Well,
many
I'm just curious how much we cut it last year.
About 110,000.
Okay, there we go. Alright.
It's not like it was 120.
Is
Still in that
your
savings.
staffing overtime for the people, or are you doing temps? Like, how is that 11,000?
So we would like to have a temp person come in through the end of this year, and then you'll see as part of Mark's budget request, we're asking for additional help to get us through the next set of FMLA.
Well, and congratulations to whoever's out on FMLA.
Thanks.
Yeah, hopefully it's a congratulations.
Tom, is there any savings as to when you buy the salt? Like, is it like now the most expensive time to buy salt?
Now is not a good time to buy salt because it's actually not available.
Yeah.
A lot of communities are essentially out or down to, one storm's worth, and they're getting, truckload by truckload, and they've actually reduced the amount they're using as a result of that. We have not had to do that. But we buy our salt through the CROG bid and also through the DOT bid. One of the things we've been doing for a decade is we buy in contract with multiple vendors, so that when there is a shortage, we have different games to play. We can call all of them, and by doing that, we essentially, it's like diversifying our portfolio. And we buy white salt, we buy treated salt.
This is an accounting exercise, not a purchase order, right? Does that make those differences?
Right, it becomes, different contracts have different rules associated with the main contract we use is the CROG salt bid, which whatever number we put in, we can be 50% above that value or 50% below that value. The DOT salt contract, if you're in for a ton, you're in for 200 tons, whatever they want, once you're in. So we always make sure we get in on that contract. This year, the salt price was actually a little bit lower than we had anticipated. It was 89 and some change as opposed to 95, so that helped us a little bit. But these small 1 and 2 inch storms kill our salt usage.
Sure, yeah.
That
All on
20 inch,
weekends.
that 20 inch storm the other day, we had 2 or 3 applications of salt. If we get a 2 inch storm, we have 2 applications of salt.
Okay, any more questions?
Then we won't talk about the snow that's coming.
I'm gonna ask Mike to read and make the motion if he's so willing.
Maybe.
Okay, if you don't want it then.
No, let me go on, get to that page. Let's see, here we go. Move effective February 9th, 2026 to approve and recommend to the Board of Finance the general fund transfers between departments as presented below and in accordance with the attached schedule.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Back to the horses. Off to the races, I guess. Thanks, Tom and
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Amy.
Put your plow down.
Okay, so I'm gonna, I know we talked about it before, but Mark, I'd like you to set the stage for this,
Sure.
and then open it up for questions.
Glad to do that, and thanks again for bringing this back, Chair. I know there's been a lot of discussion, and now 2 public hearings on this. I was just looking at my notes from the first public hearing, when the item didn't pass, and the comments at that public hearing were overwhelmingly in favor. I think, philosophically, the issue here is that, as a couple of members of the public commented, and quite candidly, I'm happy to concede this. Our assessor does not have experience and the resources needed to do the finer pieces of assessment on living animals that range in value. Horses can be worth millions of dollars, and it's not something that we're trained to do. I've never heard of a training program offered by CCM or CROG or anybody else on how to improve assessed processes with respect to horses. So when the assessor first brought this up last year as part of a package of 3 or 4 other amendments to our tax code, all of those others passed, by the way, we had asked the assessor to do a top-down analysis of everything that needed to be fixed. And one of the things that she pointed out was that there was an inequity inherent in the process, because we were really only taxing those who filed and told us what the value of the horse was. So those taxpayers who acted in good faith were billed and they paid, whereas everyone else did not. Typically, that imbalance is handled by enforcement, by making sure you go after people who are not self-reporting or people who are not accurately giving us a fair market value of whatever the property may be. In this particular case, there was really no way, in our view, in the administration, to look our public, our taxpayers in the eye and say, we are administering the assessment of horses' function equitably and fairly across the board. And so we made the decision to recommend to the board that the easiest fix, as strange as it may sound, and it may be counterintuitive on its face, is to say we're going to opt out and not assess them. Interestingly, the state of Connecticut foresaw that when it passed the enabling legislation that lets us opt out. The last thing I would say, Chair, and I know we're running late on time, is that I had heard from the public comment section of tonight's meeting a couple of suggestions about how else to do it. And I think that question it came up last year as well. We did do some research on this. In Connecticut, towns, all 169 of us, are creatures of the state of Connecticut. And while we have some home rule, we can't willy-nilly on our own without state enabling legislation say the Board of Selectmen is going to pass an ordinance that says we're going to charge $200 per horse or whatever. It's something to bring up with, I think we did, with our state delegation. Certainly other communities would be in the same position. So right now, our choices are, I think, to muddle through, and you're going to get the type of public angst and concern that I think we heard some of tonight, or in the interest of fairness, opt in or opt out, depending on how you look at it, and forego that rather limited revenue, which was estimated, I think, at around 20,000 or less. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions? I have a couple.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, to me, I feel like we're having the philosophy that we don't want to do not to do the work, but to we're not going to take tax revenue in a year in which we don't have a lot of revenue coming in. It just seems like the wrong thing to do. I understand you're saying it's only $20,000, but there has to be a way that we could say. I know you said the state says you can't do it, but what if we were to say the rate was $100 a horse. That's our assessed rate.
Can't, you just said we
Can't.
can't.
Or every horse is assessed at the same.
The value of the horses are different.
Right.
And under current state law, we must assess them under current state law or opt out of that entirely. I think the state legislature, I wasn't there at the State House, but I've got to assume that in their wisdom, they thought that we better give the communities, the local towns, the option to do this or not. We're not gonna make them do it. But the legislature didn't give you any other options, and so you don't have any. And to your point, Curtis, I think the issue is not that we don't want to do the work. Since this board voted this down last year, the assessor has done everything that could be done to, what we say euphemistically, chase the horses. And go after, them, and this is taking up, I think, a disproportionate amount of time relative to the tax revenue that we bring in. And I think that at least one of the members of the board and I have had a conversation about this where, in the private sector, we make decisions all the time about the return on our investment. But in the municipal sector, we generally don't do that. I can tell you that quite apart from all of the other things we've talked about, we are spending a disproportionate amount of time going after, to use that term colloquially, horses that we really are not experts at valuing to generate an uncertain amount of tax revenue. And if this continues, we're just gonna see a lot more going to the Board of Assessment Appeals and frustration in the community, to say nothing of the fact that with respect to at least a couple of the farms, it is having an adverse impact on their business, because if you board a horse at this farm, why bother? Let's go board the house in one of the communities that has opted out. And that was, I think, a legitimate concern that at least somebody raised tonight in the public comment session. So our recommendation is, as it was before, that we opt out. I know it was a close vote last time. Now, with respect to the revenue, I think we can do better as a town at focusing on fees that are equitably charged amongst users or citizens.
I have a couple questions.
Yep.
It was a no vote last time. There's no way that instead of the assessor spending hours trying to value a horse, that there's kind of a scale of value that they could just plop them into instead of trying to figure. I'm just asking, is that something that could happen? So at least we have it fits into one of these three buckets of value?
I agree. I'll be honest, our assessor does a great job, but at times is overzealous and seemed to be tasked with maximizing the grand list. And she is just throwing away time on something she self-admittedly says she doesn't know what she's doing. And instead of taking a lackadaisical attitude, she's still trying to maximize the return. And it has turned into a business thing where she's costing us more money and lost time. And you can't tell an assessor to back off. We have our assessor who is our assessor, but as Mark alluded to, as far as the business, are we getting a return on the investment? I mean, I don't want to kiss away 20,000. I was actually one of the ones that pushed strongly to leave it in place, because why turn away tax revenue? And I won't say it's vindictive, but the way we left it, because I have a very clear memory of how we left it, was just leave it. We don't want to just take money from others, and if you were like cheating, you don't pay anything. But it has sort of morphed into this thing where they are spending all this time on horses, and you can't ethically tell an assessor, to my understanding, to
look away,
back off. And so we are left with this quandary, and it's a quandary within myself of, do we give a tax abatement when we're already not broke, but we ain't doing great. Well, no, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. That came out wrong, but we don't have money to just throw away, because our tax assessor is still going to be our tax assessor, and she is going to enforce this the way she has enforced it in the past year. So we are backed into a corner.
So one other point that I have to ask. So I went online to ChatGPT. So I found Barkhamsted, Woodstock, and Rocky Hill have made this exemption. But Canton, Granby, Avon, East Granby, Bloomfield, Farmington, and Glastonbury, they haven't. And I would assume that they are running into the same issue that we are, and how are they assessing their horses? They all have horse farms, I know Avon does.
Granby has more than us.
So what are they doing to get the revenue instead of spending all that time to assess the horses?
Or have an appropriate way to assess them and understand the value
I mean,
appropriately.
I wouldn't wanna, cast aspersions on what other towns are doing or not doing. But I will tell you that my own sense of the world is that they're doing exactly what we were doing before, which is nothing. And the only people paying taxes are the ones that declare and self-report that the horse is slightly more than whatever the threshold is. This is a unique situation where we are, if you repeat the actions of the prior board, you are essentially, in my view, saying that those that report, great, thanks for the check. But those who are not reporting, we're not gonna do anything about it. When this was voted down last time, our assessor said, okay, I've got a fiduciary duty to go after there and assess these horses, and she found that they were not being reported at all. We weren't getting any money on them at all. People were not telling us that they had horses. We had, and I'm not gonna mention names, but one boarding place said, they're not our horses. And we don't have to give you any information at all about who owns the horse. But that's not what state law says. State law says if you have personal property, in this case horses, located in our jurisdiction, that our assessor has to assess them. But you actually have, at least one business boarding them and not happy to give us that information. And so we could not tax them. If you can't tax them, should you continue taxing the other people because you want the 20,000?
So that's good validity, but why can't we instruct our assessor to be conservative in her valuation? That came out at public audience. I forgot what the variance was, something like 25,000 to 65,000.
No, I think that was a
25 to 75 should show 65.
Yeah, I mean, why can't Francine just keep it down low where we're still getting something? And that way, those people that are not reporting still is additional income. And the other ones that are fairly assessing their horse, whatever, I guess you call it a horse. It seems like there's two issues here in my head. One is the assessment and consequently the appeals of such assessment. And the other is just trying to, my dad had a saying, nickels and dimes make dollars. You save your nickels and dimes. If we're just throwing away these nickels and dimes, I forgot who it was in public comment said it, you're just throwing away money. But on the same token, we don't want to price gouge people. So I mean, I'm still not firmly in one camp or the other.
You could read this, you could make that
What's
motion.
option B? Hold on. Receive further public comment.
Oh,
I mean,
no, I thought it meant consider, not receive, and table it and not do it today.
Yeah, we don't
Well, I
have to
think
do
we
it.
do have to send a message to the assessor to just, there's a lot of angst being caused amongst our citizens that have horses because of the assessment and the valuations that are being appraised.
So
It's not that there is an assessment. What I heard mostly was the valuation of the assessment was the problem.
But I think you only heard that, Steve, after we started assessing it. And for years, they weren't being assessed at all.
Right, that's
So, I mean, it's a little disingenuous to say, now you're complaining that you've been caught, can I use that word, when you haven't self-reported, right? This is an assessor. And under state law, I wouldn't say it's unethical, but for the legislative body to tell the assessor to just tone it down is not how I would frame the discussion. The key is about equity. The assessor has to treat everyone the same.
I disagree.
Well-
I think we go to you as the head of staff. I mean, when you have an envelope of 25,000 to 75,000 and you choose 65, that's not in the middle. That's the bottom line. And I think, honestly, the fairest, if you were going to guess, which from what I understand the assessor had said, she does not have the capacity or capability rather to be very accurate because of a knowledge. then I would guess the middle. I wouldn't guess almost the top. And I think we can send a message through you, through staff, that it's gonna be more in the median than the maximum.
But the median of what? The criticism was that she shouldn't have been using AI in the first place, and I agree with that. And nobody's made a policy decision that our assessor can use AI to value horses. That was probably the most egregious thing I heard of the public comment. I never authorized that, and neither did this board. If you're gonna use AI for assessment, I think we need to know about it and which AI platform it is and how reliable it is. So of all the notes that I made, that's the one I'm most concerned with. So I don't think that the AI range, I don't give that any credence at all, Steve, whether the range was high or low. I don't trust AI to do assessment for the town of Simsbury, period.
So here's a concern I have though is, are we just incentivizing people to no longer report?
Well, if you're opting out, they don't need to report their horses.
Correct. But the
Because-
way the system is set up currently, aren't we, so it's almost moot because then why would people bother reporting?
Right.
Because the way we have the system set up is that they don't report, she could try to go out and get them to answer, but if they don't, okay, she's not collecting taxes. The only people that got collected on were those that were honest enough to self-report. So if we, at this point, well, then why would they continue to report? So opting out basically makes it equitable and nobody has to report because at this, we're gonna wind up at zero anyway because people are gonna stop reporting. Like, why should I continue to report my horses and pay taxes on them when I know they're not reporting their horses over there and they're not being held accountable for it and they're getting off scot-free?
So we're definitely not on the same page.
No.
I am on a page that one of the things that was tossed around was a dog license, a horse license.
Right, but we've been told we
my
can't do that.
point- And we can't.
Right.
But my point is, we don't have to go to zero. We also don't have to go to 100. So,
Turn it up to 11, Steve.
What?
Turn it up to 11.
So my point is, if I like solutions. If another revenue stream was proposed in
If we could find
unison-
$20,000 of
Exactly.
spending
Right.
that we could get rid of.
Well, and I agree with you. I wish it was equitable. I wish we had a mechanism to collect on all of the horses, reported or not reported. My point being, in the absence of that mechanism, we're just stuck with the same problem that we have because we have no way to assess fairly and effectively. It is up to them to self-report in the first place, and if they don't pay. So you have a small group of people that are actually trying to follow the rules, paying in a way that makes no sense whatsoever, and then a whole large group of people who are not reporting and aren't paying at all, and yet they still own
I
horses.
wouldn't say small because we have $20,000 of gross revenue.
But it seems that may not be
You might be spending 30,000 to capture.
Yeah.
correct.
Well, that's the problem
But that
right
is the
now.
problem.
I can tell you,
Capture the revenue.
and Steve, if I can, just as a former tax collector, I was not an assessor, but from a tax collection perspective, I do know what I'm talking about. The number one premise in tax collection anywhere in the country, the world, is fairness and equity. It's incumbent upon us to make sure, that everybody's treated the same. And we're not doing that at the moment, and we weren't doing it previously, which is why Francine brought it to our attention initially. It is a difficult decision, because you're absolutely right. We're cutting off the
Right.
good hand. But what I'm submitting to you is that in this unique situation where I don't see a way, other than doing that, to assure equity and fairness across that assessment spectrum. If it was a lot more money, it would be harder. But it's $20,000, and we're seeing the inequitable, unintentional. We agree with you. This isn't a good process. It's not good for business. It's not good for our taxpayers. But you are absolutely right. I wish there was a better way to do this. I really do. we haven't been able to think.
Does the state, since they address this, have some sort of NADA book that is published?
Good idea.
We know that the state's been changing it frequently with respect to motor vehicle and you know,
Yeah.
there's been some changes
Right.
there and you know, the good news is, while I'm thinking about it, we underestimated our grand list growth because motor vehicle values went up a little bit more than expected. So, you know, horses are probably the toughest thing to assess. If it was airplanes, you know, you could get an appraisal or something, but how do I know?
Can't you self-report your value? Because you can, I mean, when your house is being assessed.
They could have a thoroughbred
you can-
horse in the stable and we
kind of.
would have no way of knowing that it just one
Or
that.
you can-
But that's
You-
the
does-
problem,
does
is all
everybody-
these horse people are appealing.
Mark,
But they're also
is there
not
a way you can give me some
reporting.
more color on this,
Yeah.
where we're sending tax bills to people who are just boarding their, I heard someone mention that,
The property owner is responsible for the tax, you know, not
so they're
the,
from out of state.
well, in one case, they were out of state, but irrespective of where they are, you know, by case in point, say a car rental company that is domiciled in Alabama but has all their cars here, they've got to pay motor vehicle taxes on the entire enterprise fleet that might be parked at the airport, at Bradley Airport. They're paying taxes on those vehicles there.
So somebody needs to say,
It
no?
just seems, I don't know, it's.
Because they're not paying taxes in where they live, it's where the horses reside.
Yeah.
Where the property is maintained.
Tax bills.
So she gets less work.
All right, so. All right, I guess
All right.
I have a few options here.
I'll do it because I'm the loudest mouth in the room. I'll make a motion to, hold on, let me see what it is.
Deciding what you're gonna do.
It doesn't mean you're voting that way, you're just gonna.
I'd like to make a motion effective February 9th, 2026 to enact the proposed ordinance of Town Code Chapter 141, Article 9, municipal option to exempt horses and ponies from property taxes as presented, which shall be effective with the 2024 grand list 21 days after publication in a newspaper having circulation within the town of Simsbury. Further move to authorize a summary of the amended ordinance be published.
Second, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Reluctantly, aye.
All those against say nay. Nay. So it's 5-2 and it passes. Okay.
Cut and paste.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for staying.
Thank you.
Acknowledge receipt.
She's like, Mom, I got you, you go.
24?
No, it should be 25, sorry.
Point of order, Chair, we have a typo in that. We've asked the board to remake that motion because this was a carryover from last year's action. Am I getting this?
2026.
25.
25.
25 grand list.
The first
So can I
installment,
just amend it or read it all?
would you read it off? I'm sorry, my mistake.
Motion effective February 9th, 2026
read
to
it.
enact the
No, I'm kidding.
proposed ordinance of Town Code Chapter 141, Article 9, municipal option to exempt horses and ponies from the property taxes as presented, which shall be effective with the 2025 grand list 21 days after publication in a newspaper having circulation within the town of Simsbury. Further move to authorize a summary of the amended ordinance be published.
And we'll reconsider the previous motion that was passed.
And we'll reconsider the previous motion passed.
So we're done, we don't have to recount.
Second.
All those in
favor say aye.
Aye.
All those nay say nay, nay. 5-1.
I get it.
Thank you, Chair.
Nay, nay.
Oh, I didn't even.
Oh, God, we're adjourned.
I didn't even think of that. That was awesome, Steve, at 9:30 to come up with that one.
We have to do the charter
Yeah, we
revision.
do. So as we've discussed, we have to have a public hearing. We've received the charter, and the letter is attached. And the way the charter now has to be, we have to have the hearing before March 8th, so we're having it on February 23rd when we have a meeting. And then we will have anywhere before March 8th, from 14 days forward, we have to get everything down and if we want to send it back to them for discussion. So it's gonna be a very tight timeline, and we'll have to figure that out. Mark is leaving the 23rd meeting open so that we can discuss after the public hearing our comments, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to organize our comments and get consensus on if and what we want to send back, but that's not the problem tonight. So I'm gonna read the motion. If somebody could make a motion effective the 9th to acknowledge receipt of the 2025 Charter Revision Commission draft report and proposed charter, and further move to set a public hearing regarding the 2025 Charter Revision Commission draft report for 6 p.m. on Monday, February 23rd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. You have to say aye on that one. I think that's all for the action. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question.
Oh, geez, what is it?
Oh,
Chair recognizes Selectman Antonio.
I do, thank you, Kevin, that's just what I was gonna say.
So some of these things are egregiously misstatements in public audience that are made, and they're just flat out wrong.
And they're documented.
And they're documented without a rebuttal or
Yeah.
correction. And it just seems ludicrous that we are putting these in the permanent records when they're wrong. Is there any way that, okay, good talk.
We should take opportunity when we can during our comments to add clarity on comment that was made or whatever. The first selectman report is a perfect, place to do this, but no, this is a record of what happened in the meeting. I think the clerk is appropriately reporting what was said, and these are their words,
So like
right?
I directed
Wrong.
So would
staff
now be
today.
the time for me to
However you wanna do
discuss something that I take, not issue with, but, issue with
It'll be in the next
actual
minutes, it just won't be
statement.
reflected here.
Oh, to put in the minutes, your
Correct.
complaint for the,
Well, no, just that some of this is wrong.
it was wrong, because
And
one
even-
person had the wrong understanding of what even happened.
And
Can't
let
have a
me-
parenthetical that Stephen disagrees with Diane's statement above.
Well,
Yeah.
I
You know,
do
that's- you can't
disagree
do
with Diane Nash's statement, and also with her statement tonight, that there's no reply all button. There most certainly is a reply all button.
Right, but that's an opportunity for us to communicate and all that, and I agree with you. I'm just saying, this is a matter of
You did just
record,
show that.
and then there's other communication vehicles to.
Okay, all those in favor, anybody have any changes to the
No
minutes?
substantive
All
changes.
those in favor say aye. Aye. I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Well done.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town.
Bringing us together through local programming,
Education and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community.
Ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings.
And celebrating milestones.
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions. And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue.
Even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open.
Continues to educate our youth and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
For generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media.
where your town
Your schools
And your government come together.